Yo, what up? We have a lot to talk about. So I covered a bunch of Canadian politics stuff for a little bit while the election was going on, and once the election was over, I did a little bit of a follow-up for like the election fallout, and I haven't done too much about it since. But today, there's been a lot that's gone on in the last couple of days, including the first official next leader for the candidate, I should say, candidate for the leader of the NDP party has been um, announced. It's on their website. I'm not gonna get into that, but that will be something we will talk about once they kind of have a couple people sort of look at who those people are. I do still want to go over. I did do a poll on the post community tab, whatever it's called now on YouTube, to ask if people wanted me to go through Carney's cabinet picks. I am going to do that probably once I'm done with Charlie Kirk. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it, but soon. Hi. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Hi. I've also been suggested to do a call-in show where I let these dumb fuck conservatives that keep coming onto my channel thinking they have a fucking opinion that anyone cares about, and letting them like call in. And I will consider it. Thank you. I really like this hat. This is a good one. It's got pom-pom on the top. I will consider it. My only concern is that I don't want to add to the problem. So like for example, like we're watching with Jordan Peterson, that the 20 versus 1 thing is kind of like it's all spectacle. It's not really productive for the most part. I mean, it doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it or anything, but it is very much spectacle. But if I'm gonna do a call-in show like that, I worry that it would be more adding to the problem because these people don't really deserve a platform in the first place, and these people don't seem to be capable of having a conversation in the first place. So I would want to make sure that whatever format I do it in is like at least somewhat productive more often than it is just spectacle. I am the problem. I mean, yeah. Why should I care? Why should I care? Actually, why should I care? Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? Anyway, I'll consider it, and if you guys have ideas, please let me know. Feel free to leave them in the comments here, or send them to me on Blue Sky, tag me, or find me in the Discord, and we can chat about like it's not like I want to prevent spectacle, but I don't want it to only be spectacle. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we can find a way around it. Is Canada going to join Lord Dome? I cannot believe people are sleeping on Mike Myers as gold member as Donald Trump. Like, I love gold! Like, I don't understand how how are we sleeping on this meme? I don't know. It's been in my brain for like a month, and I don't, or more, and I don't know why why that meme hasn't made its rounds yet. I love gold! But alas, here we are. Something that was kind of cool, also, a couple of the guys, or peeps that were in the, Jordan Peterson video came by and swung into the comment section. So I've invited them on, if they're interested. They haven't gotten back to me yet. No rush. I don't want to, like, stress them out or anything. But if they're interested in chatting and coming on and hanging out a little bit, feel free to let them know that they're interested. I did share their channels on the community tab or the posts, so if you're interested, you can check that out. All right, let's talk. What do we got? What do we got going on? So I do have one piece of thing that's pretty cool. I've showed you guys Todd Maffin before, but he's been doing on this like Nanaimo Infusion. Nanaimo is a city in British Columbia. And it's like it's being called like an unofficial community network. And right now they have put forward an initiative that is to help American healthcare workers immigrate to Canada. So if you are a healthcare worker in America and you're wanting to find work because you've lost your job, you've lost funding, or you're scared, or you just hate it there, feel free to check out Nanaimo Infusion. It's Todd Maffin specifically, so make sure you look for Todd Maffin. Anything else is probably a scam, so just be wary of that because it's getting a little bit popular. And as you know, as things get popular, people start trying to rip other people off. But hundreds of Americans vacationed this spring on Vancouver Island for Nanaimo Infusion. Yes, so this is something that Todd Maffin has put together. He does have a YouTube channel. Feel free to check it out. He kind of set this up when the tariffs and stuff were happening, and he was like, hey, people don't want a vacation in America. Hey, why don't people come to Nanaimo instead? And so he set up this thing, and now it's kind of expanded and ballooned ever since. Todd Maffin told News Bulletin that during Infusion weekend in April, many visiting Americans were healthcare workers and some were looking for a safe country to move to. Quote, in the original Discord, there were channels for general talk. There's channels for people who had pets, who were staying in living forest. He said, quote, we had a channel for move to Canada, and that became one of our most busy channels. Following the event, he opened a new Discord called Todd Maffin From Far and Wide. So if you guys are interested, that you can search. I believe that would be searchable on Discord, but I'm not 100% sure. Which became the new host to a series of channels dedicated for those interested in moving. And he said that the interest is there, particularly in the healthcare sector. Quote, we need school teachers up here. There's a lot of people we need. We need some trades up here as well. I think it just happens to have the focus, happens to be focused on healthcare. Soon the chat was joined by two island health recruiters, an immigration consultant, as well as two healthcare workers who had previously immigrated to Canada from the United States and were able to offer advice. Maffin said that he isn't recruiting healthcare workers in any official capacity, and it's just something that came from networking organically. One of the recruiters Maffin met at a grocery store, and they exchanged contact information. So if you are an American and this is something you're interested in, or even if you're not an American and this is something that you're interested in, by all means, go ahead and check it out. But I wanted to start off just shouting that out because I thought it was kind of cool. Kind of neato burrito. But for anybody who doesn't know, the Court of International Trade in the United States has denied Donald Trump and said that his tariffs are illegal, which is that thing we've all been saying. Anybody with two brain cells knows that his trade tariffs that he's just throwing around are illegal, particularly against Mexico and Canada. And Mark Carney has already addressed it, so let's take a listen.
The government welcomes yesterday's decision by the U.S. Court of International Trade, which is consistent with Canada's long-standing position that the U.S. IEEPA tariffs were unlawful as well as unjustified. That said, we recognize that our trading relationship with the United States is still profoundly and adversely threatened and affected by similarly unjustified 232 tariffs against steel, aluminum, and the auto sector, as well as continuing threats of tariffs against other strategic sectors, including lumber, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals. It therefore remains the top priority of Canada's new government to establish a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to strengthen our collaboration with reliable trading partners and allies around the world. The government welcomes yesterday's decision.
So no surprise there. It's exactly what Canada has been saying. It's exactly what the Liberals and the NDP have been saying. It's everybody and their mother is that this shit is bullshit and this shit is illegal shit. Now, is a court ruling going to stop Donald Trump and his cronies? Probably not. Probably not going to stop him. He doesn't seem to care about the law. He doesn't seem to care about the health or safety or stability of the American people, nor the American economy. He's just doing a big old grift and a big old get-rich-quick scheme, but I figured I'd touch on that, and that's sort of the official capacity. Canada's not really gonna care until the fucking bullshit stops. Which brings me to this. BC is removing the United States flag from its hockey arenas. New Westminster councillors voted unanimously, but unanimously to remove the American flag from Queen's Park Arena earlier this week. Council Daniel Fontaine said it was a very quiet, low-cost, effective way of sending a, quote, truly Canadian message amid the tensions with the United States. And this isn't the first time we've heard or talked about the American flag getting pulled out of Canadian public spaces. So, because I have had people asking me if Canada is still boycotting America, if that's because they seem to think that it has sort of lost its bluster, it's lost momentum, and the answer is no. It hasn't lost momentum and it hasn't lost its bluster. The trick is that we are not, in Canada, we are not as loud and obnoxious when we're doing things. When you do something that's effective, you don't have to fire off a gun and shoot fireworks everywhere to announce it to everyone. And that's like just a fundamental difference between sort of American ideology and Canadian ideology. It's one of the things that we're different about. Not that I'm saying you can't or you shouldn't blow off guns and shit if you want to. Like, go ahead. I mean, sometimes I think subtlety is a good idea and beneficial to you. You don't always want to announce your plans to everybody every time. But alas, Red Cedar is right. It has just become a way of life. People are not actively having to try to avoid American products in Canadian stores as much anymore because the products aren't there anymore. They're not there. They're gone. They don't exist. The products have been removed. You're not finding American tomatoes and having to avoid them. You're not finding American oranges. You're finding oranges from Egypt. Right? You're finding products, you're finding kiwis that are coming from like Italy and from different places in the world. Our supply chains are just rerouting and our stores are not empty. Our stores are full. We're not having this empty shelf problem that the Americans are currently dealing with. So it's just a fundamental, because that question seems to come from Americans, and I don't like think that they're wrong to be asking that question. I'm not trying to dunk on the Americans who think this. I'm just simply saying that it is a very staunch difference in viewpoints and sort of like what an American is expecting, right? So it's just one of those things. So we don't need to be out there protesting our grocery stores because our grocery stores have already moved on. The supply chains are already being rerouted. It's sort of a non-issue. So the boycott is still going. It's just, it takes less active effort and less active shout out because the products are just not there anymore. And yeah, you get things like this where, the American flag is just being removed from Canadian spaces because fuck them. We don't need to be like, we're removing the American flags from everywhere. Fuck you. We just take them down and be like, why are these here? Fuck off, and then just get rid of it. I do like the idea that they've been suggesting mailing all of these flags to Washington, which I think would be very, very, very funny and very, very, very petty, and it is a very, very, very Canadian thing to do. So I'm for that. Can we use the Canadian Post to do it, would be my next question, because there is a strike or a shutdown or whatever going on with the Canadian Post, but we're not talking about that today because I don't have enough time to cover that as well. So we will probably talk about that on Debate Pub, as well as we'll probably talk about a couple of these things that I'm going to mention on Debate Hub as well for the pub on Saturday. So if you're interested in some more extrapolations and some more differing opinions about some of these topics that we end up bringing up, please join us at Debate Hub Official. So it was done entirely independently too. Yeah, it was smooth and swift. Yeah. Basically, yeah. So next off, we have Manitoba fires. People have been evacuated, but these fires are absolutely devastating. So this is a state emergency that has been declared. You'll notice that the Manitoban Premier, unlike Danielle Smith, last time there were devastating fires in Alberta, already declared an emergency and got everybody out and got everybody as safe as they can be. From my understanding, there has been no casualties yet, as far as I know. I might be incorrect about that. However, the damage to property and infrastructure is massive. They've evacuated they're evacuating 17,000 people. So this is just going to be one of those things where when we talk about climate change, it's not that it's that these are the things that are going to happen. Whether you believe climate change is real or not, it's the same thing that me and Maddie have talked about. She's a PhD, and she says, listen, it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in climate change or whether or not you believe about where it's coming from. These fires, these tornadoes, these events are going to keep happening, and you need to vote for the people who are going to do something about it, regardless, whether you like it or not. So there's that. There's also this bit about America opening up their national parks to be sold off to corporations and basically pave paradise and put up a parking lot kind of shit. Surprise, surprise, that's going to what that's going to turn into is it's going to be Canada in the future airdropping wolves into Minnesota. Where Canada's has to do extra work and be extra restrictive in the way it's allowed to develop its own country to mitigate the damage done by America. If America was on board for these things and actually cared and actually took care of its people, its wildlife, its ecosystems, then Canada wouldn't have to go out of its way to restrict itself further to make up for the damage. But we'll see what happens with that. That's just what I expect is going to happen. But so be prepared if you're in Ontario. If I'm not mistaken, these fires are also taking place in Saskatchewan. So just be aware if you are in Manitoba to help out. Be aware, 2, be safe, and 3, also go ahead and, if you can, find ways to help out your neighbors in those cases. Annex Minnesota. Well, I still think that we should that America should just cede the control and management of the Great Lakes over to Canada and just cede a couple half of every northern state around them. And then let the people who want to be Canadian move to those areas and let the people who want to stay American move a little bit south. All right. Next off. So Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party of Canada MPs are back to heckling. So there's been this problem that the Conservatives have been having in Parliament where they're heckling so much that you can't hear what the other group is saying. Heckling is allowed, to be clear. Heckling is allowed in Parliament. However, it has to be within reason. Right? There's nothing untoward happening. The person isn't saying anything untoward, so there's no reason to be this extreme in what they're doing. And the Elizabeth May of the Green Party is the one who's called it out. So check this out. Check this out. This is so good.
You may have been aware, Mr. Speaker, although it is some distance from your chair, that as the honourable member from Vancouver East, there has been a certain amount, unfortunately, more heckling than one would want on a day when we receive the speech from the throne. But I'm being heckled as I make this point, Mr. Speaker. In your election, there were many commitments made in this place from many quarters that we wanted Parliament to show better decorum. On the part of my ability to understand and hear the member right next to me, the heckling was rather too loud. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So basically, this is an ongoing problem where the Conservatives are being obnoxiously loud, and when she calls them out for being obnoxiously loud and being like, hey, listen, keep heckling, but can you tone it down? They heckle her too loud. Go fucking figure. Hey, Gio, good to see you. I see Generics pop by. I see Sars pop by. Hello. Welcome. It's just making the point. And somebody made a comment down here that said, but Pierre Poilievre promised change. That's no, they're just gonna keep being the same obnoxious assholes because that's how you make a point, right? That's how you win an argument. That's how you know you're on the fucking right side. You just rabble, 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 rabble. Because that's all it is. It's just rabble, 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 rabble. Alas. Alright. One more thing. Canada summons ambassador after Israeli army fires shots near 4 Canadian diplomats. So, I don't know if you all remember me calling out that we were going to see some fucking pro-Palestine shit, and you were going to see Canadians moving in because Mark Carney was starting to frame the Palestine versus Israel thing as the same as if it was Ukraine and Russia and Canada and America, in which Ukraine, Palestine, and Canada are being pressured and invaded and attacked by aggressors like Russia, Israel, and the United States. That framing is huge. Absolutely fucking huge. And I remember recently we have pointed out that the UK, Starmer, France, with Macron and Mark Carney, have threatened to sanction Russia. Well, not long after that, I said I would not be. It'd be crazy to see like Canadian peacekeepers and like medical, military, quote unquote, on the ground in Palestine, because if that happened, then Israel wouldn't be able to just bomb wherever because they'd have to be concerned about hitting these other countries' people. Well, go fucking figure. Canada is summoning the Israeli ambassador to explain why Israel Defense Forces fired warning shots near a diplomatic tour in the West Bank on Wednesday. This is from March, when was this posted? Let me just double check. May 21st, 2025. So this was last week. Prime Minister Mark Carney called the situation totally unacceptable and said Canada expects an explanation of what happened. Quote, it's some of many things that are totally unacceptable that's going on in the region, Carney said at a press conference on Parliament Hill Wednesday. The Israeli military said Wednesday it, quote, regrets the inconvenience caused. Motherfucker! Inconvenience? You're gonna fight. So I would like to call out anybody that's defending Israel right now and be like, so how are you gonna justify shooting at Canadians? I'd love to know. By warning shots fired as diplomats toured the city of Jenin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm probably not. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand confirmed on social media that 4 Canadians were part of the delegation touring. She added that she is relieved that all of them are safe. Yeah, could you imagine if one of them got fucking shot? Could you imagine if one of them died? Motherfucker! How you feeling about those international incidents out there? The minister said she expects a full investigation and accountability. Quote, I have asked my officials to summon Israel's ambassador to convey Canada's serious concerns. A video of the incident circulating online shows members of the tour group speaking to cameras near a large yellow gate. Gunshots can be heard as the group hurries away from the gate and goes around a street corner. In one video, 2 soldiers can be seen pointing guns at the direction of the group. So there's that. On top of that, I would also like to point out that recently Canada had invited back doctors to give accounts of what is happening in Gaza. Journalists aren't allowed. There's no social media and internet access in Gaza right now, as far as I understand it. Not directly. There seems to be a couple of workarounds, but they have had most of Gaza's like outside access has been cut off. Most of Gaza's water and food. We're talking like not just humanitarian crisis, but we're talking war crimes. So there's a really big emphasis being put on and a lot of weight being put on what these doctors are reporting back, what information these doctors are providing. I'm not going to go over it today because I think it deserves its own video, and realistically it probably deserves somebody better than me to go over and cover it, but hey, listen, sometimes any voice is a voice. You know what I mean? So we'll probably take a look at some of those because they're coming back with basically testimony. And that's a really big deal, and I'm very happy to see our parliament taking it seriously and our parliament going out of our way to do something about this fucking shit. And admittedly, it's a long time coming. It's definitely late, but at fucking finally, right? You got an advertisement for the Israel side of the conflict, and they're really pushing it. Fucking ew. Ew. Yeah, there's been a lot that's gone on with this. So I just wanted to give this one a little bit of a shout out because I don't know how many people knew about this one, but we'll have to talk about it more in its own video. As for the relationship between the United States and Canada, so we're gonna get into the dome, but first we need to talk about Pete Hoekstra for a second. So Pete Hoekstra is the U.S. ambassador to Canada right now, and he seems to be down to dig his own grave, I guess, because he's not very good at talking to Canadians. So this is at the business B7, like this is a business summit in Canada. This was from May 2025, May 16th. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, Pete Hoekstra. I gotta say, the Trump administration has the best people, the very best people that are definitely hired on merit and not DEI at all. That's why they're so good at their jobs. That's why they're accomplishing so much. It not good. It bad.
You didn't come back.
Oh my god, you want me to show you the moments from the Dutch news contract? Alright, fine. Well, look at what he's saying with the Dutch over there. Alright. Pete Hoekstra. Yeah. A DUI hire. Another DUI hire. Alright, I'll play this one first just because Feline asked nicely.
To the original remarks,
I haven't seen this yet.
Politicians were burned. Do you now, unequivocally, reach a conclusion that you were wrong when you stated that politicians and cars were being burned? Because you can discuss.
The Islamic movement has now gotten to a point where they have put Europe into chaos. Chaos in the Netherlands, there are cars being burned, there are politicians that are being burned, and yes, there are no-go zones in the Netherlands.
I express my regrets and my apology for the comments that I made, and I'm not revisiting the issue.
Yeah, but for what remarks exactly? No, seriously, please.
For what
You didn't come back to the original remarks saying that politicians. You didn't come back to the original remarks saying that politicians were burned. Do you now, unequivocally, reach a conclusion that you were wrong when you stated that politicians and cars were being burned? Because you can discuss.
The Islamic movement has now gotten to a point where they have put Europe into chaos. Chaos in the Netherlands, there are cars being burned, there are politicians that are being burned, and yes.
I do like that this is posted by the Washington Post, by the way. Yeah, all I said was that this was a really good question by the interviewer. This is by the Washington Post, and there's something about this that I like is one, the music that they've added underneath it, and two, that they clipped in the actual thing that he said back in the day. So this is the old clip.
There are no-go zones in the Netherlands.
I express my regrets and my apology for the comments that I made, and I'm not revisiting the issue.
Yeah, but for what remarks exactly? No, seriously, please. This is important.
Yes, did you read the quote over the fireplace from John Adams?
And then he runs away.
Truly an honest and wise man. Would you please take back the remark about burnt politicians? Or name the politician that was burned in the Netherlands? Thank you.
Why don't you answer the question? This is not how this works, guys.
This is the Netherlands. You have to answer questions.
Please.
This is not how it works.
Oh my god, that's so funny. He's trying not to answer the questions, and they're like, no, this is not America. These are the Netherlands. You need to answer the questions. You can't just, like, ignore the press. That's not how it works here.
No, you didn't answer mine.
Speaking of threat, at one point you mentioned in a debate that there are no-go zones in the Netherlands and that cars and politicians are being set on fire in the Netherlands.
I didn't say that. That is actually an incorrect statement. Yeah, we would call it fake news.
Fake news, obviously.
I didn't call that fake news. I didn't use the word this today.
That is literally what you just did!
No?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, I think...
Oh my god,
Yesterday,
the reporter laughing at him is pretty great. By the way, so this is Malin Baker. We're not gonna watch him right now, but I have been enjoying his content. He made a decent video about Danielle Smith and why she threw the Polyev under the bus, and has thrown some of the Canadian Parliament, or the Conservative Parliament, under the bus. He's also did a decent job covering the King, because the King visited Canada. Yes, I know, we have to mention that the King visited Canada. The King came, he said some things. Some of those things were directed to punch Donald Trump in the gut, and there were some interesting statements about it. He did really good coverage. I also watched Tyler Bucket reacting to it, and I think most people have already said enough about it that I don't feel like I need to add anything. There is the laughable Polyev was sitting in like the nosebleed section and also had to be there on a visitor's pass, and then still decided that he had something worth saying, where he complained that the King's speech didn't have policy in it, as if it was supposed to have policy in it, because Pierre Polyev is a sad, strange little man. But yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. If you want me to cover it and watch it, we absolutely can. We can watch that Parliament Day. That is the, I believe, the day that we did watch that clip from Elizabeth May about. We can do that, but I'm not going to do it today. There's been plenty of people. Go check them out to see that. But let's get to what Pete Hoekstra said about what he's saying about Canada. So this is from May 16th as well. So let's check this out.
My parents went from Holland to Holland. I went from Ottawa.
Oh, I skipped ahead because it's just him trying to be relatable, and it's whatever.
To Ottawa. And we are glad to be here. In getting ready for today, someone, one of the questions that people said, well, there's uncertainty in those types of things, and there is. Won't deny that for a minute. But then,
there's some uncertainty. You'll think?
And there is. Won't deny.
Listen to that voice crack.
Be here. In getting ready for today, someone, one of the questions that people said, well, there's uncertainty in those types of things, and there is. Won't deny that.
There is. Is there, Hoekstra?
For a minute. But then someone said, is America open for business? And it's like, excuse me, have you not been watching? America is open for business, and as the B7, a group that leads the world, we anticipate and hope that you are all open for business as well, and that when we are...
Sir, when you tariff everyone, remember, he's speaking to Canadians. When you tariff the shit and be like, well, you're actually going to pay the tariff, other country, as if that makes any fucking sense, then you're not exactly open to business. You're only open to business in your own country. Trump's whole shebang is about bringing jobs, manufacturing jobs and shit back to America. That's his whole excuse for his grift to just make him and his friends money, which is actually what's happening. But... like, motherfucker. And yeah, Sarah's right. One of the questions is that there's uncertainty. It's not a question, it's a fact. So he's so bizarre. It's so bizarre that like these fucking American grifters show up in other countries and think that the other countries are going to respond and react as if they're speaking in America. We're back to this idea that there's only America and not America, and anything that's not America doesn't matter. The same thing was with Charlie Kirk when we were watching him in the UK, and he's fucking embarrassing himself because his fucking script doesn't work there. And we're watching Hoekstra fucking flounder in the same way because he's not in both, where was he? When he's in the Netherlands? Where was he? Hold on.
You didn't...
During the Dutch news conference, and he has to be told, this isn't America, you have to answer the questions. And it's the same thing fucking here. Like, dumbass, you're not open for business when you're trying to prevent everyone from doing business with America if they are outside of America in a bid to make them come to America. So don't fucking condescend to everybody and say, oh, well, are you watching what's going on? Are you? Oh my God.
All open for business. It's a better and it's a safer world. Okay, we can lead the world in a number of initiatives. We have strong cooperation. America's open.
No, we do not. We currently do not have strong cooperation, dumb fuck. We absolutely do not have that. Trump is destabilizing the world and making it more dangerous. Yeah, and Feline is right. You're abandoning Ukraine and your obligations to Ukraine, your legal obligations due to the deal you made for them to denuclearize. You did that. And you're leaving them to hang. And you know who's fucking cleaning up after you? Canada. You know who's been fucking cleaning up after you as soon as fucking Russia dared to show its fucking face? Canada. You know who else has been part of it? Every fucking buddy else is part of the fucking EU. Oh my fucking God, it's not like Canada's the only ones either. France, the UK, Germany, Poland. Like, motherfuckers. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you think anybody's gonna buy this horse shit? Absolutely fucking not. What cooperation? Trump in his first term, abandoned the fucking Paris Accords. Like, what do you fucking mean? You're going around actively undermining your allies because Trump likes Putin, and Putin hates everyone, including you.
Open to doing business. We're open to doing business with you, our friends, and as you can see that, in the last week, President...
Gio's right. It's always Europe who's cleaning up after the U.S.'s messes. Look at the fallout after Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Ukraine, and the climate change is next on the list. Yeah, the destruction of national parks is going to be a really big deal. Everybody is always fucking picking up after America, and then America and Americans think that they're allowed to fucking just show up anywhere and tell everybody fucking what to do, as if they're not a fucking giant baby child causing problems literally everywhere they fucking go.
It's also indicated we're open for business in the Middle East. Okay, I think I woke up on...
You really think it's a good idea to mention the fucking obviously corrupt acceptance of the Qatar plane? Like Canada doesn't know what the fuck is going on? I'm getting the vibe that Hoekstra forgets that Canadians understand American politics. Like, the Canadians know what's going on. This is a summit. This isn't like talking to random people on the street, my guy. You really want to bring up the Qatar plane?
I've been in politics for a while, but what we are seeing today, we have never experienced anything like this in American politics.
Yeah, and you're saying that like it's a good thing? Like the open hand gesture and then immediately like closing his body off? Where he's just like an awkward cough to interrupt what he's about to say. Well, he's just like, but when he opens his arms, he's not open. His fucking elbows are pinned to his side because he's uncomfortable as fuck. Yeah, bro, that's not a flex. This is so fucking embarrassing.
Okay.
the president, one of his primary priorities was, we're going to secure the border. 60 days later, it's secure.
The borders are secure? Really? So can you please talk to me real quick about the FBI director here? This is the American FBI director, Kash Patel.
Director Patel, it's no secret that there is a growing presence of Mexican cartels operating fentanyl synthesis labs just over our border. Just last year, the CBP estimates that more than 21,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized at our borders.
This is March 26th.
That is enough to kill more than twice the population of the world, of our country. What actions are you taking to strengthen the FBI's fight against illicit fentanyl within our borders?
Thank you, Congressman. It's good to see you. We have made it a priority at the FBI because fentanyl and illegal narcotics kill an American citizen every 7 minutes. That is a national security crisis, not just at the southern border, but at the northern border. And the Mexican cartels, along with their illicit partners in the CCP and other adversarial countries that are doing harm, are not just taking the fight down south, but they're bringing it up north. So we need to be more vigilant as to what's coming in through our northern border as well. Known and suspected terrorists are flowing in through our northern border more than they are our southern border, I would say, because of the successes we've had in closing the southern border. But when it comes to specifically, to fentanyl, we are making, to date, since January 20...
The southern border that Trump made all of the Republicans vote against, the most aggressive, hardline southern border blocking and like strict restricting of access that was proposed by Kamala Harris, right? That? Okay.
383 kilograms of seizures of illegal fentanyl, which is enough to kill 29 million Americans.
The prior administration refused to provide requested information and data on what the public now knows was a very dangerous situation along the U.S. borders that President Trump now has as a priority of fixing. In January 2024, there were 176,000 encounters along the southern border, with 51,000 occurring at ports of entry and 124,000 between ports of entry. Comparing that to the work just in the first few weeks of the Trump administration, total encounters are down to 61,000 along the border, with 32 at ports of entry and 29,000 between ports of entry. For the record, that's a 60% reduction. Director Patel, since President Trump took office in January, as we've seen these plummeting border encounter numbers, has the country seen a drop in known or suspected terrorist encounters at the border?
Thank you, Congressman. It's one of the issues I really wanted to address today. And I think the country deserves to know that known or suspected terrorists, KSTs, are coming in with much less frequency at the southern border. In fact, if my information is correct, 2 since January 20th. And they are coming in with much greater frequency in the northern border, and since January 20th, that number is 34. And those metrics carry out over the last year in terms of ratio. So what it tells me is that known or suspected terrorists, the individuals that want to do the most harm to this country, are utilizing the northern border, and we got to refocus assets up there.
Yeah, which I think is good. And I'm glad the prior administration did declassify the ISIS arrests in Philadelphia and did declassify the a citizen that was coming across the northern border to do harm on Election Day. That's.
But you know who has to get to step in is Canada, because they're making it up there and shipping it down here. And I don't care about getting into this debate about making someone the 51st state or not, but they are our partner in the north. And say what you want about Mexico, but they helped us seal the southern border. The facts speak for themselves. The border that's open, I'll give you a statistic that I gave to Congress that nobody was paying attention to. Over 300 known or suspected terrorists crossed into this country last year illegally. Known or suspected terrorists, not illegals. Not just
suspected terrorists that we've decided are terrorists without due process, because of course you do.
Illegals, known or suspected terrorists. 85% of them came in through the northern border. Wow. This year, 100 known or suspected terrorists have crossed into this country illegally. 64 to south and north.
General. What's the citation for that statistic? Great question. Next question. By the way, CBSA operation leads to seizures of fentanyl and other narcotics. kilograms of fentanyl and other narcotics were seized by the Canadian Border Service Agency, CBSA, as a result of a large-scale operation. Quote, during the operation, Border Service officers examined shipments with a special focus on mail, air freight, and sea containers going to the United States. A CBSA press release reads, Operation Blizzard was a month-long cross-country campaign by the CBSA to, quote, intercept fentanyl and other illegal drugs in postal, air cargo, and marine containers. I would like to point out this is as of May 28th. So if you want to say Canada's not doing anything and isn't partnering up about securing the border, you're full of shit. Kevin Brosseau, Canada's fentanyl czar, which we named to placate Trump, reiterated the agency's commitment to public safety. Quote, the Canadian Border Service agencies, with initiatives like Operation Blizzard, is directly contributing to detect, disrupt, and dismantle the fentanyl trade. There were 2,600 seizures. Of those, 67.5% were illegal narcotics coming to Canada from the United States. Well, 17.5 were going to the United States. So how about maybe you go fuck yourself? And look at the numbers we're talking about here. Like, let's be real here. Although I do like the 249 cannabis and cannabis-related product seizures, because that would be solely an issue for Americans, not for Canadians. That's just a you problem. I do also like that that's the highest one. It's fucking Americans trying to get their weed from Canada. Brother! Fucking wampa. I'm gonna add, by the way, these links into the description after this is over, so if you want to, like, read more or check out any more, yeah, go for it. So, I guess, the 60 days later, the border is secure is just random bullshit.
You know, 99% of illegal crossings across our southern border have ended. You know, I wake up on Monday morning, and there's a whole lot of stuff that's been happening in between, you know, securing the border and those types of things. But, you know, you wake up on Monday morning, and what do you have Monday morning? We've got an agreement with China. Oh.
No, you do not! You do not, in fact, have an agreement with China. That is a big old fat fucking lie.
Good. Chalk this week down. We got a major accomplishment.
Sar says, this guy just seems very afraid of the audience. I gave less nervous speeches to the class in high school. There goes monetization. Yeah, fucking, yo, help me out, become a member, and send me a super chat or whatever, because what the fuck is monetization? Literally, as I said it, thank you very much, my unfinished journey. Hail Chesh, the rest of the civilized world. I salute you!
This weekend. So, well, no, Pete, we're not done yet. You know, we did something.
I would like to remind everybody that that what was promised was 90 deals in 90 days, and they've got 0 deals. None. Not even one. You know what he got? A free airplane. That is very, very, very much illegal.
On pharmaceutical prices, we had the expectation that perhaps Putin and Zelensky would meet today.
We had expectations that perhaps Putin and Zelensky would meet today. You mean the agreement that Putin demanded that Zelensky capitulated to, and then Putin didn't fucking show up because fucking your president's a goddamn joke? Fuck.
Didn't happen, but, you know, then we did secure, again with our friends, we secured the release of an American hostage.
Oh yeah, yippee! We fucking care about that in Canada. Good job, guys. You got one guy, and you can't go get Garcia? This isn't a fucking point in your favor, dumbass. So you are capable of negotiating and having people return to the country from another country, but for some reason you can't with Garcia or any of the other people that shouldn't fucking be in El Salvador right now, which is all of them? All of the people that fucking Trump sent to El Salvador or has now sent to Sudan should not be there? Duh! And for some reason, you're like, your president's absolutely fucking powerless, but it's okay, we negotiated one guy from somewhere, probably.
On Monday or Tuesday, but it was announced on Monday.
Ooh.
And I think we got a plane, okay?
You were actually gonna bring up the Qatar plane! You were insane! They're laughing at him!
And I think we got a plane, okay? Just a little plane. We've got lots of planes in Washington. I suggested that the president, Mr. President, we don't have a plane in Canada.
Oh, so he wants the Qatar plane. What the fuck? Well, you know who's not gonna let your stupid fucking bribe plane into our fucking country? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? Oh boy. Oh boy.
If you've got an extra one, we can, because this is a big country. I could use a plane to fly from here to Vancouver to all the places that you mentioned, although I'm not sure.
We don't like you. We're not helping you out. Canada's not gonna bribe fucking Pete Hoekstra with a fucking plane.
Land in Smithers. And it's like the pace that we are moving at is unbelievable.
Yes, it is unbelievably slow. You're moving at the speed of slug. What's happening is the unbelievable speed at which your president is just rolling over American citizens' rights.
And I was at the White House this week, and you talk to the folks there, they're working 24/7. They're working 7 days a week on implementing an agenda that I think will be good for all of us. And we clearly want to move forward on a number of the objectives that the B7 has outlined that we are in total agreement with. You just go through a few of them.
All right, I'm going to stop him there because we got another one to cover because he went to the National Post, which we all know is a right-wing propaganda bought and paid for by right-wing pundits in America, but this is where he decided to go because of course it is. Good God. I feel like America getting all its deals done is moving at which the speed Pete Hoekstra fucking talks. And I got tired of listening to him, so we're gonna jump over to this one and keep going. All right.
Reporter at the National Post Ottawa Bureau. I'm joined by U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra. Thank you so much for joining us.
It is great to be with you. Thank you.
You come to Ottawa after a pretty historic meeting earlier this week in Washington between your president and our
This is from May 8th.
Minister. Canada is describing this meeting as a restart of the relationship. How would you evaluate the meeting, and would you agree with that assessment?
I thought it was a great meeting, reaffirming the friendship between the United States and Canada, but a restart or a reset, no way. I spent 18 years in Congress. I was chairman of the Intelligence.
No way? Did he say no way? United States and Canada, but a restart or a reset? No way? He doesn't think that that's what that was? Yeah, he's the ambassador. Yeah. Fucking Trump named this dumb motherfucker the ambassador to Canada, and he's done nothing but fucking offend us since he got here. My Infinite Jury for Two said, don't flip off the world, like and share instead. Let's go! Help us grow. We're almost at 4K. We're pushing that 5.
No way. I spent 18 years in Congress. I was chairman of the Intelligence Committee. I'm well aware, and also coming from Michigan, of the strong economic relationship. From the Intelligence Committee, I well aware of the Five Eyes relationship and those types of things. The friendships across the border. I have family that lives in Canada. So you put that all together and say the foundation is phenomenal. We are great friends. We have been great friends for such a long period of time. You're not going to...
Hawkskull wants to point out a reminder that if a snail started at the Russian-Ukraine border when the invasion started and made a determined effort to get to Kyiv, he'd already be in Poland. So the new slow is the Russian army. Very funny. Five Eyes, those kinds of things. What does that mean? I think he means like the World Intelligence Network. Bro, nobody is telling Trump or America dick shit anything right now. No fucking country is that fucking stupid. I wouldn't believe for a second that Russia is sharing anything that it's doing with fucking America either. But oh my, we've been great friends for such a long period of time. Great friends. I would like to remind everybody that America seems to have forgotten that this is the second time they've done this. This is the second time that they've tried to attack Canada through tariffs. Because when did they do it last time? 2016! Trump already did this. You are already on try number 2. It's over, brother. You actually think that we're your friends still? I don't think so.
Going to change those personal relationships. You're not going to change those economic relationships.
My brother in Christ, those economic relationships have been drastically changed. Drastically. Again, I will repeat, there are next to no and getting lower and lower and lower percentages of American products on Canadian shelves. Let alone the economic devastation that America is facing from the tourism industry. The tourism industry is about to hit fucking bottom. You're going to have so many people and areas and restaurants and tourist destinations that turn into ghost towns over this summer. And on top of that, military. The American military-industrial complex is taking a massive hit because guess who's not a part of the Europe rearmament initiative? America. And you know who just joined in on that? Canada. You want to know why it took us so long to join in on that and it wasn't immediate? Because we had an election. It would have been done 2 months ago, but we did an election. So we had to wait until we were done. Shouldn't an ambassador be someone more suave and actually intelligent? That man is nothing but an embarrassment for anyone. Yeah, no, you're right. It's very much like you would think that somebody who's going to be an ambassador of the country that they're in should know something about the country that they're being the ambassador to. So, like, if Hoekstra is gonna be the ambassador for Canada, he should probably know something about Canada and know how absolutely fucking petty Canadians are. We will not forget, and we will fucking never let it go. There's going to be digs about America. If America turns this whole train around tomorrow, Canada's not gonna just go back to buying shit. You're looking at like 50 to 100 years. You're looking at least one generation, if not 3 generations, of being actually a consistent good partner before you start seeing that attitude turning around.
National security they were never in jeopardy. Is it a little bit of a, okay, let's get over what's happened the last 90 days? Yeah, we did that. Okay, but the relationship...
Yeah, let's just get over the fact that you're still punching us in the fucking head and you had to be told by the fucking law that the thing was illegal.
From my perspective, and I think from the president's perspective, was never in jeopardy.
It does feel like that friendship is going through a little bit of rocky times on the economic front. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, the president has promised the American people in the election, he promised that, there would be a reset on some things, not specifically with Canada.
So now he thinks it's a reset, or he doesn't think it's a reset? Oh, no.
But in our economic relationships with people all around the world. The president campaigned and said...
Tell you what, if Charlie Kirk from the other day said that we should make decisions about things, people having positions based on IQ, how about you start with your fucking administration?
A lot of areas, he strongly believes that America has been taken advantage of, that the trading relationships haven't been fair. So
the trading relationship that he negotiated and he signed. And that's everyone else's fault and everyone else's problem.
He took a global approach. And when you take a global approach, yes, Canada falls within that. Some of the people, folks have not liked that approach. But it is what the president campaigned on, and he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
So what can Canada do? Or what?
I don't recall Trump campaigning on the idea that he wanted to alienate America from literally all of its allies. I don't remember him saying that.
What do you think needs to happen for the U.S. to lift its tariffs on Canada?
Well, you know, we announced, the president is in the process of announcing today a significant trade agreement, one that will happen within the first 110 days of the president being in office. Under his leadership, we're announcing an agreement today with the UK. I think this will kind of be a template.
There was no agreement made with the UK. That didn't happen.
How we go around the world. I haven't seen the details of.
What the fuck does that have to do with the question? The question was, what would Canada need to have? What needs to happen with Canada?
Of it yet, but from the preliminary indications are it covers automobiles. I think we've got some kind of automobile relationships between the U.S. and Canada. It's going to cover aluminum and steel.
If you make a deal with the UK about automobiles, it has nothing to do with the Canada and America automotive industry. That's a deal with the UK, even if it did happen. Maybe he thinks that Canada is part of the UK. Does he think that Canada is part of the UK? Does he think that a deal... What a blithering idiot. Oh my god. I hadn't watched this ahead of time. I just knew this was the interview where he made the comments about like, oh, this is all behind us.
Wow. Check the box. All right. That's something that we have an economic...
I do not expect the National Post. So if you notice that I'm probably not going to call out the National Post for not like trying to hold his feet to the fire, is because it's the National Post and we already know they're not really going to. Like, these questions are fine, but the fact that they're not pressuring him tells you everything you need to know.
Economic relationship with Canada. It's going to talk about, supposedly it covers the digital services tax.
How the fuck does the UK agreement that doesn't exist have anything to do with Canada? Cheshi thinks we're still a province of Britain. I'm gonna cry! You know, I drank all my beer, and I don't have any more, and I'm not gonna be buying any for a little while because I was drinking a little too much, and I gotta get something. I'm gonna have to find something. I was thinking about buying Fresca and gin because I think that might be good, but I don't know if Fresca is American, so I'll have to look that up before I go and get it. And if it's American, I'm gonna have to go find an alternative. And if you know of any fucking alternatives to Fresca, let me know. Jack for Two says, it's interesting how he's almost doing Trump hands. Yeah. What type of beer? The type of beer that I was drinking was Sleeman's. It is a Canadian lager. It is local. Local. It's from like a city or two away from me. It's got a beaver and a maple leaf as its logo. I do enjoy. They do have like a spread. They've got clear. They've got original. They've got a honey, which is quite good. I should go to the Wellington County Brewery because the Wellington County Brewery has a really good dark ale. There used to be a pub that I went to, called the Woolwich Arms or the Woolwich Arrow in a city called Guelph. If you're ever in the area, definitely go there and check it out if it's still open. I don't know what its name is. Sometimes it tends to shuffle its name around. They get the Wellington County Ale, but there they serve it flat and warm, and it is actually very, very good, and I definitely recommend giving it a shot and trying it. So, Fresca is American. All right, well, I need an alternative then. Smoked beer. All right, yo, send me that in Discord DMs, and I'll see if I can. Because I might. So people can send me alcohol. Like, you can send me alcohol. You just need to know the store location that you need to send it to, and then you just need to forward me the use my email as the receiving email. So if you want to send me alcohol, you can actually send me alcohol. Fun fact. Anyway, hold on, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna refill my tea, and we'll be right back with more Pete Hoekstra. Yippee. I munch in disrespect. I got some carrots. So I buy them just as regular carrots, and then I shave them, and then I cut them up into little ones because I just really like them like this. All right, let's keep going. What this idiot has to fucking say.
Well, check the box. That's one of the things that we in America are interested in taking a look at and discussing with Canada because of the services tax that Canada will be implementing in, I think, at the end of June. What do Canada and America need to do? Do what we've done for a long time. Talk, and I think what you saw on Tuesday with the President and the Prime Minister is they talked, they listened. I mean, the scrum in the Oval Office, okay, with the
Yeah, that was definitely Trump listening. That was Trump listens to fucking anybody, right? Taco Trump. Yeah, look how ugly this fucking thing looks. It's awful. It's so horrid.
Media hollering at the President and at the Prime Minister questions. But when you got into the luncheon, for an hour and a half, You had the president.
Way to admit that your country has no control over, like, the decorum of your media space.
Hollering at the president and at the prime minister questions. But, you know, when you got into the luncheon, you know, for an hour and a half, you had the president and the prime minister doing what they need to do. They talked, they showed each other a tremendous...
We did see what fucking Carney said when he came out of that meeting, right? Like, he did a press thing afterwards, and he was just like, whatever. No deal was come to. It's just the fact that they established that they're able to have a conversation. That was it.
Tremendous amount of respect, and most importantly, they listened to each other. Okay, I think the president clearly listened to what the prime minister had to say, and the prime minister clearly listened to what the president had to say. They got a feel.
Our guy listened. Your guy was like, never say never.
For who each one was. They created as much as you can in 2 hours, the beginning of a relationship that I think can be positive, that will go after tariffs. And as the president said, is there any one thing that the prime minister can say today? It's like, no.
That's not what Trump said. That's what Carney said. Trump just went on like a fucking inane ramble, and then Mark Carney popped in and was like, this isn't a one thing issue. This is a bigger issue than that. And the point is that we're able to have a conversation. What the fuck? Did you watch it?
Is there an agreement that can be had that increases prosperity, safety, and security for both countries? Absolutely. Yeah.
So this template, the trade deal the president is announcing today with the UK, that can be a template for Canada?
I think that's very funny. Like, the idea that there's this template that exists and America's just going to apply it across the board. One size fits all. Very Americanized. Very, very industrial. And Alicia makes a good point. Trump doesn't have a drop of respect for anything in his body. Yeah, you're right.
And we'll have to see the specifics, right? We haven't seen the specifics. All we know is they're covering the same issues.
Right. How far, judging from what you saw on Tuesday in your discussions, how far do you think Canada and the U.S. is from striking some kind of a trade deal in this vein that would deal with some of these issues?
Yeah, taking the president's, some of the president's words and also some of the, some of the language that came out during the luncheon, okay? On the 51st state.
We don't know what came out of the actual luncheon. We only know what was part of the press release.
It takes two to tango. Never say never. You know, Canada's not for sale. Okay, what did we do on Tuesday? We put the 51st state discussion. It's done. Okay, the president clearly acknowledged it takes two to tango. That's behind us. And it was never a barrier to discussing these other issues.
It's behind us, guys. The 51st state talk is over. May 8th. A few moments later.
In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the...
Wait, before I do that one. I told Canada, which very much wants to be part of a fabulous Golden Dome system, that it would cost $61 billion if they remain a separate but unequal nation, but will cost $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. They are considering the offer. Brother, Gio is right. Of course it's a barrier, but not in the way that he thinks. Yeah, you're right.
And so those will be, now begins the framework. I think what happened on Tuesday, getting back to your first question, not a restart, but it allowed us to put behind us some of the last issues, okay? From my
you mean, NGO's right again. You know you guys could just make Puerto Rico a state if you want more states.
Standpoint, from the president's standpoint, 51st states not coming back. The president may bring it up every once in a while, but he recognizes it's not going to happen unless the prime minister engages with the president.
Does the president and his administration understand the effect his comments are having on the relationship with Canada and how Canadians feel when they hear him make that comment, whether they think he's serious or whether they think he's joking, whether they think it's real, whether they think it's wishful thinking? Does he understand the effect those comments have on this relationship in Canadians?
I'm sure he did. The president's a smart guy, okay? But you know, from my perspective, I think the president, that's behind us, okay? Let's start working on the issues that are most important. Let's make sure that we establish a fair, equitable relationship between the U.S. and Canada. And you know, the issues that they talked about. They talked about the economic issues. They talked about fentanyl, okay, which is an issue that both of our countries are very concerned about. The possibility, they didn't use these words, but the possibility of, if we work together on fentanyl, you know, let's make North America a fentanyl-free zone. Canada and America, we're losing.
Oh, yeah. So, fentanyl, back to Kash Patel, blaming fucking Canada for fucking fentanyl shit, and also back to, fucking excuse me? Excuse me? To Canada from the United States. America is to Canada as Mexico is to America. However, I would like to point out that Mexico has been doing fantastic lately, and Canada has invited Mexico to the G7 meeting, or the president of Mexico to the G7 meeting, and she is considering the offer.
Way too many of our Canadian citizens and American citizens each and every year to fentanyl. The president wants to stop it, and I think that he saw with the prime.
Why do they all pronounce fentanyl wrong? They all pronounce it incorrectly.
Minister, the indications and some of the actions that Canada has already taken, which the Prime Minister outlined as being very constructive in building that partnership. You know, the Prime Minister brought up a commitment to dealing with some of the military obligations and national security obligations that Canada and the U.S. face. So, you know,
what do you mean? You mean military obligations like your agreement with Ukraine? Like those kinds of obligations? The obligations to like the world, to the UN that America has been signaling that they're going to completely be pulling out of? And like humanitarian rights obligations like Gaza, where the ceasefire that was proposed and brought to the UN was vetoed by America? Those kinds of military obligations? Or is he just talking about how Canada and everybody else on the planet is abandoning fucking the American military industrial complex, especially the fucking F-35 deals? Especially the F-35 deals. Derp, the derp, derp, der, der. Something gripping.
There's some work to do, but it's not like there's this huge chasm that we have to overcome. I think we can get there relatively quickly, but the president's very busy right now, all right? We got the trade agreement with the UK. His team is flying.
They did in fact not have an agreement with the UK.
Flying to Switzerland, I think, either today or the next couple of days to have negotiations and discussions with China. The president is going to the Middle East on Monday for a number of conversations, but those things will work, and you know, it's just a matter of getting into it. We're negotiating.
Those things will work. It's just a matter of getting it. Feline's right. The American optimism is just a denial of the actual situation.
With Japan, we're negotiating with India, South Korea, Vietnam. There are at least
sure you are. You have a citation for that?
Press reports saying that significant progress is being made in all of those issues.
I guess my last question for now is how much of it is a priority getting a deal with Canada? I mean, the president has a lot on his plate. He's kind of taken a global approach to this issue of tariffs. So resolving things with Canada, where does that fall on his priority list?
Well, it's a priority, but we just started. In that, you just came out of an election, all right? And that, so, there were no discussions going on, but the president wasn't stopping, okay? The president has an agenda. He has secured our southern border. He's working on this massive tax package, which we think will be good for our economy. He's opened up...
The massive tax... the one that is cutting Medicaid to give billionaires a tax break? That tax package? Yeah, no, they just started. We've had a long history and a long relationship, but it's not reset, but it's definitely negotiations have just started. That doesn't answer the question, by the way. The question is about the priority, and he's not answering, because he's just using it as an excuse to spew additional propaganda, because this is the National Post.
Energy. So he's got a very aggressive agenda, but I think, within, 8 days of your election, the Prime Minister is in Washington. He's in a meeting with the President, with the Vice President, with Rubio, our Secretary of State, with Lutnick, our Secretary of Commerce, who's leading the economic discussions, with Greer.
Yeah, Lutnick. He's doing a great job.
Our trade representative. And also with Susie Wiles, who he describes as the most powerful woman in the world. So, the president had everybody in the room that needed to be there, and I think that you should, I would look at that and say, wow, it's clear the president sees Canada as a priority. He didn't take 3 weeks or a month or 2 months to have a meeting with the Prime Minister. It happened, before you even have a government that is formed. So it's kind of like, no, I want us to...
Mark Carney was the Prime Minister for months.
I want to get a measure. I think the two leaders wanted to get a measure of each other. They wanted to set a tone and a tenor for their teams to follow, which I thought the tone and the tenor of the meeting was very positive in that it was respectful. The president talked about how much he loved Canada, how he's got friends on both sides.
He fucking talked about how much he loved Canada so much that he named a Russian hockey player Canadian because he's a moron. Guys, come on. Oh, no.
Sides of the border. I saw a reciprocation from Mr. Carney. And so, that watching the two interact for 2 hours, I think sent a message to both teams. Time to get to work. Let's get this done.
We'll see what happens next. Thank you for joining, Ambassador, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, so everybody, that's the U.S. Ambassador to Canada, fucking Pete Hoekstra. It's a fucking goofball. So let's see how well those negotiations are going.
In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also.
As soon as he stops reading the script that was written for him, he just starts randomly saying random bullshit.
For this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful, and now we have technology that's even far advanced from that. Canada wants to be a part of it, which be, fairly small expansion, but we'll work with them on pricing.
He thinks that adding Canada to this will be a small expansion that he proceeds to describe as a small expansion costing $61 billion.
Dealing with them on pricing, they know about it very much. They've asked to be a part of it, actually.
They know about it very much.
They've asked us to be a part of it. I think it's something that is great. If you can afford to do it, we can afford to do it. We think it's going to be about a little bit less than 3 years, and we'll have a big phase-in very early. We're starting immediately with $25 billion. It'll cost about $175 billion completed, but we think...
So he wants Canada to pay for it. 61 out of $175 billion? Hold on. I'm opening a calculator. Hold on. 175... hold on. 175 divided by 61. 2.86?
In 2.5 to 3 years. In the campaign...
Sorry. I said what he wants Canada to pay for 1/3 of it. 1/3 of his big golden dome. He's gonna build a dome and make Canada pay for it. But this is Charlie Angus. Charlie Angus is a now retired MP who's been going around doing a tour for Canadian Resistance, the Elbows Up. And he's been very vocal about this and has been for a little bit. And he says, say no to the golden handcuffs. This is a multi-billion scam that will force Canada further into the military protection of the authoritarian regime in Washington. It is about making us a vassal state. We need to put the protection of our interests as top priority for military investment. I'll read this again. This is what Donald Trump had said on his Truth Social thing that I don't know if he's legally allowed to own. I told Canada, which very much wants to be a part of our fabulous Golden Dome system, that it will cost $61 billion if they remain a separate but unequal nation, but will cost $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. They are considering the offer. Yeah, unequal nation. The fuck does that mean, first off? Second off, changing the name from the Iron Dome to the Golden Dome is fucking ridiculous. Especially since gold is notoriously weaker than iron. Like, gold is soft and malleable. Very, very goofy on its own. But does this sound like a threat to anybody else? This sounds like a protection racket. But this is what Carney said about this, because he already responded. Let me make sure the captions are on for you guys. There we go.
That we have an ability, if we so choose, to complete the Golden Dome with investment.
Did you catch that? Complete? Trump cannot complete the dome without Canada. The dome can't be done the way it's supposed to be done without Canada's approval. And if anybody knows anything about negotiation, it means that you need to capitulate to us, not the other way around. That's what this bluster is about.
Investments in partnership. And it's something that we are looking at and something that has been discussed at a high level, but I'm not sure one negotiates on this. These are military decisions that are then taken in that context, and we will evaluate it accordingly. We are conscious that.
So I guess you could call that consideration. We're not considering the offer. We are considering allowing your dome. That's what we are considering. And under what scenarios we believe that would be useful or in our favor. If that's something we're going to, invest in from a military perspective. He says very diplomatically as Canada moves all of its military away from America. Senior Canadian diplomat compares Trump's Golden Dome missile program to a protection racket. Canada's ambassador to the United Nations compared U.S. President Donald Trump Golden Dome missile defense program to a protection racket on Wednesday after Trump and America's northern neighbor could pay $61 billion to join the program, or it could be free if the country agrees to annexation. Yeah, I want to point that out. This is Trump saying that we could get that protection for free if you let us annex you, if you give up your sovereignty. This is why Charlie Angus called this fucking turning us into a vassal state. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Trump posted on social media on Tuesday that if Canada became the cherished 51st state, it won't have to pay to join the proposed U.S. missile defense system. I hope the Canadian foreign affairs workers absolutely obliterate Hoekstra, and I hope the Canadian fucking media takes advantage of how embarrassing this is for him. Ambassador Bob Ray took exception to Trump's comments in two social media posts, comparting it into something organized crime does. Quote, in another context, this would be a protection racket, Ray said of Trump's post. Ray later posted that both Canada and the United States signed the UN Charter in 1945 that states, quote, the organization is based on the sovereignty of equal nations. Threats to sovereign integrity also prohibited, Ray noted. In his post, Trump said it will cost $61 billion if they are considered in the offer, blah, 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 blah. Trump made these statements on the same day that King Charles III said Canada is facing unprecedented challenges in a world that's never been more dangerous, as he opened the Canadian Parliament with a speech widely viewed as to show support in the face of annexation threats by Trump. The King is the head of the state, blah, 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 blah. The King visit clearly underscores Canada's sovereignty, Carney said. A spokesman for Carney responded to Trump's post on Tuesday. Carney himself didn't even respond. A fucking spokesperson did it for him. By saying the Prime Minister, quote, has been clear at every opportunity to include in his conversations with President Trump that Canada is an independent sovereign nation and will remain one. Quote, Canadians gave the Prime Minister a strong mandate to negotiate a comprehensive new security and economic relationship with the United States, the statement said. To that end, the Prime Minister and his ministers are having a wide-ranging and constructive discussions with their American counterparts, which is not the President. These discussions naturally include strengthening NORAD and related initiatives such as the Golden Dome. Now, I would like to point out real quick, this is as of May 28th. However, hold on, we gotta hold on to this one for a second. Trump gets openly ridiculed after unhinged new claim about Canada. President Donald Trump on Tuesday claimed he finally found a way to get Canada consider becoming a united U.S. state, but not many people are buying it. So here's the same tweet again. Canadian officials have not yet publicly responded, but Canada is never for sale, yada, yada, yada. About 80% of Canadians said they were strongly opposed to becoming a U.S. state. Bro, 80%. Trump, who has angered Canadians with his rhetoric, now finds himself in an unexpected position. He needs at least some cooperation from the country to make his Golden Dome plan a reality. Politico reported last week that Canada would need to allow radar and airspace access for the U.S. military to be able to track and respond to potential missiles coming from China or Russia via the polar region. Carney said last week that his country was discussing some form of cooperation. But here's some of the tweets that got highlighted in response, right? Or tweets or Blue Sky posts, whatever. Trump is threatening Canada once again, and ew, go away. Trump is threatening Canada once again and says they are considering the offer to be annexed. When will this unhinged lunatic get over this? It's not happening. Canada will remain sovereign and Trump will remain unsuccessful. I have a feeling this is the first that Canada is hearing about them considering the offer. They are, in fact, not considering the offer. Trump, you want to be part of my fabulous Golden Dome system? You want to be part of my fabulous Golden Dome system. Canada, we do. You have to pay me $61 billion. We'll pay $0. Only if you become a cherished 51st state. We won't. So you are considering the offer. New phone, who dis? Sure, Jan. Is Canada even aware they are considering this? Narrator, Canada is not considering the offer. Lamau, show me a single person in Canada that would consider an offer to join the United States. Actual footage of Canada considering the offer is a laughing gif. We're going to build a Golden Dome and Canada is going to pay for it. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. This post I think is interesting. This is from Dean. Blundell, if you're interested. Breaking: Mark Carney just declared Canada's independence from U.S. militarism in a huge announcement. So this is also from May 28th. Canada just declared independence from Trump's military grift and is creating shockwaves in U.S. military circles. Minutes after King Charles eviscerated Trump's America, Canadian PM Mark Carney delivered a warning shot, a declaration, and a game-changing pivot that has Donald Trump fuming and the rest of the world cheering. Canada is out. Out of the American military-industrial leash, out of Washington's grip, out of the days of being the polite northern neighbor that quietly nodded along while Trump turned NATO into a reality show. Quote, 75 cents of every dollar of capital spending for defense goes to the United States. That's not smart. That one quote dropped by Carney on CBC's Power and Politics detonated decades of military dependence in a single breath, and in its place, a confident made-in-Canada vision for the future, one where Canada leads. Carney said that he's looking to join a major European military buildup by July 1st. By Canada Day, by Canada Day, we'd like to see something concrete there, the PM tells Power and Politics. In their interview. This is a 1-hour interview that was done, which I want to go over and I want to watch with you guys, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. I do have it pulled up, but not today. From America's sidekick to sovereign power, Carney is finalizing Canada's entry into Rearm Europe, a $1.25 trillion EU-led military rearmament plan. The goal: bulk up allied defenses, outmaneuver Russia threats, and outgrow United States chaos. Carney wants Canada at the table by Canada Day, and he's not waiting for permission. Trump, of course, responded like a man who just found out his favorite punching bag hit him back. Dean had said, LOL, quote, I won't charge Canada, and this is highlighted with when he posted this, which was the 27th. If Canada remains separate, blah, 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 blah. Yes, this was real. Trump offered a missile shield in exchange for annexing Canada, and yes, Canadians laughed, because we're not in the mood for delusions. Mark Carney's response: Canada is not for sale, ever. And that was before King Charles reminded Parliament that the true North is indeed strong and free. Canada is leaving NORAD in the rear view. In another shocker, Carney announced Canada will independently monitor the Arctic using Australia's Jindalee radar system. You remember we've talked about this. That radar system was supposed to be sold to America. Australia sold it to Canada instead, and it's being set up in the Arctic. What is Canada gonna do, and why would Canada need the Golden Dome when we have our own radar system in the north to deal with this? Why would we need to spend $61 billion to America when we got this for $6 billion? A $6 billion tech partnership that gives Canada its own eyes in the sky. It's a direct swipe at NORAD and US dependency. Canada is now taking Arctic security into its own hands. And this is also during Carney talking about how he wants to buff up military even more. So it was already on track to be spending more, and Carney wants to buff it up more. And if we're taking deals, what kind of deals do you think we're getting from the rearmament in the EU? It's military construction contracts. It's taking the damage that America has done to the fucking Canadian automotive industry and taking that manufacturing infrastructure and shifting it into building military equipment. That's what's happening. Like I fucking told you, I'm a prophet. I can see the future. There is a difference, you're right. There's a difference between monitoring and intercepting, but you are correct, yes. Carney called Trump's America, quote, a threat to Canadian national security. A couple of months ago, telegraphing yesterday's stunning announcement. Breaking Canada announced earth-shaking plan to rebuild its military, further severing ties with Trump's America. No more U.S. planes, no more U.S. strings. Carney has also put the U.S. F-35 fighter jet deal under review. Oh wow, to the surprise of fucking nobody, after Trump said, we're not gonna build everybody the best planes, and we're not gonna send everybody the best equipment because they might not be our friends in the future, thus crippling around the world the military industrial complex of America. Fucking whoops! Hey, guess what? Instead, he's eyeing the Swedish Gripen jets. Or Gripen jets. Gripen. I don't know how it's pronounced. And get this, they'd be built in Canada. That's right, jobs, tech, pride, and air superiority without a single U.S. asterisk. As much as America likes to brag about building the best military planes, you do know that America was allowed to do that through agreements with Canada after World War II. That was Canada willingly stepping aside. Do you really think that with the damage that fucking Trump is doing to the education system, with the brains of the people in both young and older that are fleeing the United States, that they're not going to get picked up and suddenly this fucking power shift is going to happen really far, really fast? Canada was a leader at the end of World War II in military production and innovation. We chose to give that up and step down. You really think that we can't just step that right back up and right back into that position? Because that's exactly what we're fucking doing. We've already got buyers. Gripen. I don't know. Building the Superior Corridor, Canada's economic arsenal. By the way, you have any idea how long it's going to take to build the Golden Dome? $5 says we can get it done faster to protect ourselves. And why would we want to give it? One of the top contenders for getting the contract to build the Golden Dome is SpaceX, is Elon Musk. Like, how about we don't? Canada isn't just rearming Canada, he's rewriting it. The Super Corridor is a coast-to-coast infrastructure and defense supply chain that powers the new Canada, independent, export-ready, and not beholden to the winds of Donald Trump. We'll build our military with Canadian steel, Canadian energy, and Canadian labor, and we'll sell that power to the world. From Berlin to Tokyo, no detours through Washington required. Canada just checked Trump's ego. Carney's Super Corridor sets the stage for a global power shift without America. Trump was the last straw. Let's be clear. Trump's threats of annexation jokes, tariffs, and Golden Dome nonsense were just the push Canada needed to break free. He didn't scare us into submission. He reminded us how dangerous dependency can be. So just to be clear, people have been moving away, like the world has been moving away from American-dominated shit since Trump's first term, if not since Afghanistan. And so having Trump in again doing all this shit is really just giving all of these countries an excuse to pull the trigger with the support of their people. But here's another one. Science News. Trump's Golden Dome plan has a major obstacle. Physics! Guess what? In sports, the best offense is a good defense. It's not clear if the same applies to nuclear war. In the face of nuclear threats from adversaries like Russia, China, and North Korea, some politicians are clamoring for a system to reliably protect the United States from incoming missiles. That's the aim of President Donald Trump's plan for the next generation missile defense system dubbed the Golden Dome. Trump's announcement on May 20th that the architecture had been selected and that the system would be operational before the end of his term. This is like you guys really think that it's going to be done in 3 years? At the cost of $175 billion. But some scientists suggest that implementing such a system as called for by a January executive order would be daunting. The United States already maintains a nationwide missile defense system aimed at defending against small-scale attacks from intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, launched by rogue nations such as North Korea. But a February report from the American Physical Society concludes that defense against even a small-scale attack is uncertain, and the system's capabilities are likely to remain relatively limited within the next 15 years. The report argues the Golden Dome initiative aims to protect the country from more capable adversaries such as Russia and China, a more difficult task. Intercepting a single nuclear-armed intercontinental range ballistic missile or its warheads is extremely challenging. Physicist Frederick Lamb of the University of Illinois, chair of the group that produced the report, said at an APS meeting in California in March, quote, "The ability of any missile defense system to do this reliably has not been demonstrated. Countries have come up with new types of weapons that could skirt defenses, blah, 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 blah. The Golden Dome has drawn praise from missile defense proponents, quote, the initiative to elevate and prioritize air and missile defense. That's a long overdue and is entirely appropriate," said the director of the Missile Defense Project. Go figure. Lower launch costs, proponents argue, make space-based missiles defense more realistic, blah, 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 blah. Hitting a bullet with a bullet. But criticism note that the difficulty of the problem remains. Quote, "Technology has advanced tremendously," says Victoria Sampson of the Secure World Foundation in Washington, D.C., "but the laws of physics have not changed, and that's really what is challenging it. ICBMs are a formidable target. An ICBM launches in a giant arc that sends the weapon it carries careening through space, traversing more than 5,000 kilometers to reach its target. The challenge of intercepting them has been compared to hitting a bullet with a bullet. But this understates the problem. At around 25,000 kilometers per hour, ICBM speeds are about 7 times that of a bullet. What's more, they're generally armed with nuclear warheads, each capable of killing millions of people rather than one. ICBMs have 3 phases of flight, and there are different possibilities for intercepting the missiles during each phase. In the boost phase, which lasts a few minutes, the rocket engines lift the missile to high altitude and at high speeds. In the mid-course phase, the engines are jettisoned, the missile enters space, releasing 1 or more warhead, which continue upward before falling back down again. This part of the trajectory, in which the warheads are moving in an arc under the influence of gravity alone, is what's known as ballistic motion, hence the missile's name. That phase lasts around 20 minutes. So here's a diagram. The terminal phase is the shortest, and the warhead re-enters the atmosphere, descending to the target in under a minute. This period is so short that the only possibility for stopping a weapon is by placing interceptors very close to the point of impact. Such tactics can be used as one layer of missile defense and backup protection for sensitive areas like military bases, but it is not practical for protecting a large country. So concept for protecting the entire United States typically focused on the boost phase or the mid-course phase. 44 interceptors in Alaska, California aimed to intercept incoming missiles in the space. That system, which by some estimates has a cost of over $60 billion, is known as ground-based mid-course defense, is aimed at defending the United States against a number of unsophisticated missiles from North Korea. Critics note that the system has been around 60% effective in tests. However, the statistics include tests going back over 25 years. Hey, guys, at the risk of boring you, do you remember before Russia started invading Crimea and before invading Ukraine, that they were like, oh yeah, our military is super strong and super duper effective, you better be really scared of that, as they tried to bully Ukraine and shit? And then they actually went to war, and they've been laughably falling over at every fucking instance because, I don't know, a lot of it was propaganda, and I don't know, maybe some of their statistics were using tests that went back over 25 years. Does any of this seem familiar to anybody else? Anybody? Is that just me? Another complaint is that the tests aren't realistic. But proponents say it's not possible to fully recreate realistic conditions. However, none of the weapons shot down in those conflicts were ICBMs. Quote, one should not mix apples and oranges, says physicist and aeronautics engineer Paul, who was not involved with the reports. Quote, different type of attack missiles and their number and sophistication will require different tailored defenses. And there's one more particularly thorny snag to missile defense. In the mid-course phase, countermeasures. An adversary could release debris or decoys along with the real warhead. Go figure. A boost from space. The trickster tactic of the mid-course phase aren't possible in the boost phase, during which the warhead remains within the missile and the entire package travels to the atmosphere. Quote, there is hold on, I need to look this word up. Hold on, pause. I don't know this word.
Perennial.
I do know this word. Perennial. That is a word I do know. All right, perennial. Moving on. There's a perennial dream of intercepting the boost phase. But because the boost phase only lasts a few minutes, that time pressure is enormous to get an interceptor there. The boost phase is over so quickly that any interceptor would need to be positioned very close to the launch site, and for a large country with an inaccessible interior like Russia or China, that is a no-go on the Earth's surface at least. Interceptors in low Earth orbit of an altitude of 2,000 kilometers or less could do it, but those interceptors would be orbiting rather than parked over the country of interest. To be certain of taking down a missile, a large constellation of satellites would be needed, and in order to protect the United States from salvos and multiple missiles at once, the number of the satellites would need to increase even further. Ensuring protection from just one North Korean ICBM would require more than 1,000 interceptors in orbit. Guys, remember when I said that there's no way they're going to be able to build this in 3 years? 1,000 interceptors have to be built and successfully launched, and I would like to point out that SpaceX has failed launches 3 times in a row, launching and dropping more fucking fuel-laced debris into the fucking ocean. So when the fuck is Elon gonna clean up his goddamn mess? Fucking asshole. APS report finds protection from 10 might demand over 30,000 interceptors. 30,000 interceptors, depending on the missile type and other assumptions. For comparison, there are about 12,000 active satellites in orbit around Earth, most of which are fucking SpaceX Starlink. Motherfucker! Can we get this man out of everything, please? I really do not want to be talking about and having to deal with Elon Musk for the rest of my life. I know that he's likely going to die before me, if I live a full life and he's older than me and clearly very unhealthy. But, that's not a guarantee. And on top of that, I'm probably still going to have to talk about the damage that he's done for, at least a little while after he dies. So it would just be really nice to the sooner we get rid of him, the better. You know what I mean? Fucking, who's going to manufacture the satellites? Not America. Well, SpaceX is the fucking group that's the front runner for getting the contract to build this fucking golden piece of shit. Golden Dome aims to protect not just from North Korea, which justifies this 30,000 number, but also from attacks by more capable adversaries such as Russia and China, who together have hundreds of ICBMs. But Golden Dome is not intended to be impenetrable, he says. I don't know anyone who is credibly making that argument. So then what's the point? So then what is the fucking point? To thwart the Golden Dome idea is that an adversaries would need to launch a substantial barrage, one certain to provoke a massive nuclear war. It is uncertain how many ICBMs the Golden Dome would aim to neutralize and how many satellites would be needed. But even for small-scale attacks, defending from Russia and China would demand more satellites simply to cover a wider geographic area than needed for North Korea alone. Quote, it is really an enormously huge difference to be defending against a small region versus a large continent. Depending on the specific objectives, Golden Dome could require an untenable number of satellites, he said. Quote, I would call a lot of these proposals infeasible, but in reality, we don't know what these proposals are really asking. Yeah, we don't even know. Listen, Canada's really interested in joining this deal we don't fucking know anything about. And that seems to be relatively ineffective, as opposed to what Canada seems to be building with its tracking capabilities in the Arctic, and as well as our beefing up of Arctic security through other means. Trump shared a few specifics on the May 20th news conference, saying Golden Dome would be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they are launched from space. That, Robert says, suggests an extensive system. Quote, you would be hard-pressed to find a system that could do that for $75 billion. Even the most optimistic assumptions behind boost phase missiles defense would suggest that that is impossible. What's more, Robert says, to do it in 3 years would require a faster launch cadence than ever before. Wow, go fucking figure. The price tag is bound to be a thorny issue. Already over the past 70 years, the United States has spent more than $400 billion on missile defense. The budget bill that is currently working its way through Congress would lay out $25 billion for the Golden Dome in fiscal year of 2025. Even with the lower launch cost, the space-based effort would alone would cost between $161 billion and $542 billion over a period of 20 years. It's really complicated, Sampson says. It's like the bumper sticker type of thing. It's easy to say, do you want to be defended against ballistic missiles? And everyone says, yes, of course, I'd love that. Great, but here's all the things you need to look at. Sarford said poor Chesh can't escape Elon Musk. Sorry, not sorry. I'm so sad, guys. I'm so sad. But alas, I'm not going to cover this today. I wanted to talk about this and kind of show, what people are thinking, but I think we've been live long enough that I might have to come back to this one. So I wanted to... Actually, no, I have enough time, but before I look at that, because it's not going to be... Yeah, you know what? Let's just do this now. Let's just do this now. And we're not going to watch the full 25 minutes. This is a channel subscriber. This has 400 views on it. This is called ImperfectPolitics. Or Imperfect Politics, whichever one it's supposed to be. And they have 1,000 subscribers. They're not a super huge channel, and I don't want to, be a dick to them or anything, but I do want to point out some of the problems with the way of thinking and how it's kind of infecting a lot of stuff with this kind of approach. So let me play this for you real quick.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day so far. I got a good one for you today. So, I bet you guys, after my last video, didn't think you'd be seeing me so soon. Well, I didn't anticipate I'd be able to create an AI to help me out with all of these videos. So,
alright, so first problem, maybe don't be using AI because it's going to cause you problems, but I'm going to skip ahead until, because he shows off his AI, very nice, very cute, very lovely, very nice VTuber, but here he is, he's about to get into it.
no further ado, let's get to the video. So, this here's Mark Carney coming out, outlining our government's new policies. What fun. Let's get into it.
We have just concluded our first cabinet planning forum at Wilson House at Meech Lake. And while we were there, as a team, we sat down and we discussed how we can best deliver the major changes that are needed to overcome the many challenges that Canada currently faces. In a more dangerous and divided world, geopolitical risks are rising, threatening our sovereignty. The global trading system, which has helped power Canada's prosperity for decades, is undergoing its biggest transformation since the fall of the Berlin Wall. At home, our long-standing weak productivity is making life less affordable for Canadian families. It's straining government finances and threatening to undermine the sustainability of vital social programs on which Canadians...
Oh, sorry, I have a correction to make. SAR said Elon's Musk, not Elon Musk. I can't escape Elon's Musk. Sorry, not sorry. Very funny. Fuck you.
rely. So Canada's new government has an immense responsibility to address these challenges head-on, with focus...
Oh, also, this video is from 4 days ago.
...new strategies and determined execution. And that new approach animates the mandate letter that I shared with all members of our ministry at the end of our meeting. It reflects a unified mission. This one letter outlines the core priorities of Canada's new government, reflecting the mandate that Canadians have given to us. In particular, the government is charged to build the strongest economy in the G7, an economy that...
Holy moly, man. Can you just kind of skip to the part where you tell us what the government's priorities are? I mean, I know your time really isn't very valuable, but I think the viewers' time is.
All right. So first off, attitude check. He is doing that. He is listing off, you really think housing and affordability, the cost of living, is not important to Canadians? You think that housing wasn't a major platform during this last election? That the economy isn't talking about the government priorities? Actually? Like, the G7 is... Sorry.
So, let's skip the political jargon and just...
What part of that was political jargon? The G7 is a title, not jargon. It's a name. It's the name of the agreement and arrangement of some of the biggest first world countries in tandem across the planet. So just because you don't understand these things means you probably shouldn't be talking about politics. You really? Actually, again, we're back to you having an attitude and you not understanding something and you throwing incredulity at things doesn't mean they're invalid. Good God, my brother in Christ.
You know, get to the point.
That works for everyone.
Yeah, having the biggest growing economy in the G7 and having an economy that works for everyone is definitely not the government's priority. Definitely doesn't have anything to do with fucking Canadians and their interests. And definitely is political jargon. Yeah, none of those things are true. That's not even close, my friend. Not even a little bit.
We're to bring down the cost of living for Canadian families, to keep our country secure and our communities safe, to develop a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to build new partnerships with reliable allies around the world. Our team is already acting on this mandate with urgency and determination. This past weekend, I met with U.S. Vice President Vance in Rome, where I reiterated what workers and businesses on both sides of the border have long known, that Canada and the United States are stronger when we work together. Minister LeBlanc is currently in Washington to continue.
Yeah, if you guys didn't hear that, it seemed Mark Carney and Donald Trump were working together quite closely even before the elections took place, because our government created a lot of exceptions to all those massive tariffs that they were bringing in. So we'll see what comes with that.
Our government didn't make exceptions. Our government made a targeted response at specific industry. And Canada did that on its own in response to the tariffs. In what way have they been working together on this? What are you talking about? Do you have any citation for this? There have been a few tariffs that have been put on hold, but we know that. There's been a couple of tariffs that have been put on hold on Canada's side that was with the intention of helping Canadian business navigate the issue. So what are you talking about? Mark Carney and Donald Trump have been, like, what, behind the scenes? Your implication that there's something nefarious going on here? What are you talking about? What? Huh? Really? Before the elections took place? What are you referring to? Because we didn't target everything? Because fucking Justin Trudeau's plan was different than Carney's plan? Trudeau's plan was a slow ramp up. Carney's plan was a 1-to-1 as best as possible. Those are two different things. So what the fuck are you referring to? The massive tariffs were caused by Trump. Oh no, that's obviously just them colluding. Like, what are you talking about? Do you have a citation for that weird statement that doesn't seem to make any sense or mean anything?
That they were bringing in. So we'll see what comes with that.
What comes with what? Carney is literally saying that, yeah, it's better if we can have good relationships with our neighbor, but if we can't, that doesn't mean we have to cede anything to do so. America's getting fucking rolled by Canadian tariffs right now. Is this person supposed to be Canadian? Supposedly. Supposedly this person is Canadian.
Negotiations with members of President Trump's cabinet. And Minister Champagne is meeting with his American counterpart as the minister leads the G7 finance ministers meeting in Banff. The next few weeks...
Not Banff. Banff. B-A-M, like Banff.
And months will be crucial to catalyze the changes that Canadians deserve. This next Tuesday, May 27th, in the speech from the throne, His Majesty King Charles III will outline our government's plan to build Canada strong. On June 2nd, I will chair a major First Ministers meeting in Saskatoon to strengthen the partnerships that are needed to build one Canadian economy out of 13 and to catalyze the significant nation-building projects that will diversify and strengthen our economy.
Now, personally, this is pretty cool and not pretty cool at the same time with the King Charles coming over here to Canada. It would have been awesome if this was Queen Elizabeth, but King Charles doesn't really have anything to do with me. I don't think. Maybe if you're a monarchist here in Canada, it might be something special, but I don't particularly think that King Charles really has done anything well for Canada. There's no real point of bringing him over. For the exception, he is the new sovereign here in Canada. So maybe that's why he's coming, maybe not. I don't know. It's just seems like a jumbled mess. Right now, we don't...
I don't understand it It doesn't affect me personally, therefore it is a jumbled mess. What? Yeah, it's been a few years since Queen Elizabeth passed away. Besides the fact of the meeting that Carney had with the UK, with the King, and that, like, what? Yeah, she died in 2022. It's now 2025. Like, you're gonna have to get over it, I guess. It's just a very, yeah, it is a bizarre comment to make. It's very strange. And yeah, the King being here was making a statement, right? Like, he was showing up to point out that, one, Canada is sovereign, two, Trump has this weird thing about kings, right? He's got this weird thing. It was to make a point. And, like, the point is pretty obvious and pretty clear for anybody who watched it. Now, I guess this is from 2 days ago, so I guess he hadn't seen it. Or it hadn't happened yet, depending. I have to double check the timestamps. But, like, it's not a jumbled mess. It is a very much diplomatically calculated political move. And if you're going to do a channel about politics, you should probably understand something about politics, is kind of more what I'm getting at. Now, what does make sense is to say that if you were to, if Justin Trudeau had invited the King over last year, everybody would have been like, what the fuck? Why are you inviting the King over? Because there wouldn't have been a reason to invite the King over, and it would have been kind of fucking weird. But now we have a reason for him to come over. Like, a very clear political play for him to do that. And it does, and actually on that point, it makes being King Charles actually better. I think it actually being King Charles is better because Donald Trump doesn't respect women, and two, he's a king, and Donald Trump real big likes king, unga bunga. Conservative-based channel too. Oh, of course it is. Yeah, this is obviously just, this dude is like fucking just, sir and or madam over here is just trying to make slop. And here's the thing. I think it's okay to be biased. As long as your biases are clear. I don't think being biased is a terrible thing. But when you try to pretend you're not and try to lie to people, or you use your bias as an excuse for shit, like Fox News is a problem. Because they weaponize their bias, right? And the bias of the viewership. You know what I mean? Dude is a conservative anime. Is that even possible? You'd be surprised. There's a lot of like anime and comic gamergate. A lot of it is very fucking conservative. Also fuck the king. Like it's clearly symbolic, not the king doesn't have any real power in Canada, and that's not going to change anytime soon. But with Canada making military moves and changes to its military and its positioning around the world, this makes complete sense, especially with joining up with the rearmament of the EU. It absolutely makes sense to have the king pop on by and pop on over, especially if we're advancing and negotiating more trade with the UK. Like I said, it's symbolic.
Need all these view things. We don't need all these fancy lights. We just need to get our parliament up and running and get our government actually moving, because nothing's been working for about a year now. Remember.
Brother, the taxes were changed on day one of Carney being in fucking office. There's been a handful of things that have happened directly as soon as that was done. The one thing that didn't happen was the budget, right? The budget didn't come out. And Carney explained why, and his reasoning is pretty valid. So if you're gonna pick on that, then at least, like, I'm not saying this guy is, maybe he will, I don't know. If you're going to criticize that the Liberals didn't put out a budget, which I think you're fine to criticize them for. I think that's a valid criticism. His reasoning for not putting out the budget was because he said the G7's gonna happen and everything's gonna be tossed up in the air within the next couple of months, so I'm just gonna put the budget out and not rush it out and just wait until fall because the G7 is happening in August. So in August, we'll have a better idea of where the world is, and we'll be able to solidify some of our negotiations with both the military changeover and military contracts that we're looking at getting with the EU, as well as like the trade negotiations. So I think it's fair to criticize him that he doesn't put a budget out, but his reasoning is pretty solid. It's pretty valid. So take it or leave it. But, like, it's very silly to say that our parliament and our government hasn't been working. It has, in fact, been working and has, in fact, been doing things. So that's just silly.
And get our government actually moving, because nothing's been working for about a year now. Remember, before last year around this time, Parliament was seized because the Liberals wouldn't release all the information about the green slush fund that they had. Now,
I don't know what they're referring to. Liberals green slush fund? Let me Google it. Oh, look, the only place look, the first thing that pops up. Oh, look, it's the fucking conservative donate website. Oh, no, really? Oh, my God. Oh, no, look. Oh, no. Wow. Ooh, looks like bullshit. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Ah, where was I? I lost where I was. There we go. Fucking Christ. Shedding light on the green slush fund scandal. The Herald. Lethbridge Herald. Sure. The Toronto Sun. Pipeline Online. Good God. There is a one from the CBC that says government business on pause as Conservative House Leader Andrew Scheer said the government party would rather see the House bogged down. So it's interesting that you want to accuse the Liberals of doing that and shutting down the Parliament when it was the Conservatives that seized the Parliament over this issue that may or may not be actually a real issue, and I'd have to actually look up and find out what is actually being referred to. Sounds like a conservative talking point, yeah, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Sounds like slander propaganda, doesn't it? And now that's not to say that there isn't some kind of issue that was going on. Sure, fine, we can talk about that, but let's talk about it in a way that is actually real. Let's talk about the actual facts of the matter. Let's not just blow things out of proportion because you want to spin the bullshit and now try to claim that a prime minister, which is a different prime minister, by the way, because that would have been Justin Trudeau, shut the government down when it was in fact actually the Conservatives that seized the function of Parliament, not the Liberals. You can't even take ownership of actually trying to do the right thing when you think it's the right thing. Funny that. Strange.
Pro-Parliament and then just had an election, and then they're saying that, oh...
And now you're blaming the Liberals for the election too? The Conservatives wanted to call the election, and Mark Carney said, okay, and then called an election. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You fucking absolute shill. Fucking Christ.
We're not going to come out with a budget for this summer. So our government hasn't actually been working the way it's supposed to for the longest time.
It still functions without the budget announcement, by the way. They're just operating on the budget that already existed and haven't come out with a new one. And like I said, if you're going to pick on that, actually pick on the talking points and actually pick on the facts of the matter. By the way, I would like to point out that there's already been an agreement between Manitoba and Ontario about opening up trade between those two provinces. That's already happening. So that's also something that the federal government is a part of, those negotiations. Like, they've been part of and encouraging that exact thing. Our government is still fucking functioning. It's all the Liberals' fault, even when I get exactly what I want.
In the middle of June, I will host the G7 and other world leaders in Alberta to address global challenges ranging
Oh, sorry, June. I had said August. It's in June. My mistake.
energy security to the future of the new global commercial trading system. By Canada Day, our government intends to take action to eliminate all remaining federal barriers to internal trade.
All remaining, meaning some have been removed already, which is the government functioning. By the way, that's Canada Day. Canada Day, I believe, is July 1st, isn't it? What day is Canada Day? Is it June 1st or July 1st? I forget. Hold on, let me look. I don't remember. When the fuck is Canada Day? Why am I stupid? I think it's July. Yeah, I was right. July 1st. I had to double check. I don't trust myself. Yeah, July 1st. That is the government moving fairly quickly if you're going to do all this and get all of this done by July 1st.
This fall, the Minister of Finance will deliver Budget 2025. A budget based on a clear fiscal outlook shaped by a higher degree of confidence in the prospective efficiencies and cost savings across government.
Why aren't we getting...
There you go. There's your answer. The reason why they haven't put out a budget is because lots of things are unclear right now, and after the G7 meeting, we will have a better idea what the fuck is going on, because everything is incredibly unstable right now because of Donald Trump, that thing that this guy just accused Carney of colluding with. But yeah, let's see. What's your answer to that?
Shaped by a higher degree of confidence in the prospective efficiencies and cost savings across government.
Why aren't we getting a
greater
summer
clarity on the economic impacts of the trade war?
What? Why aren't we getting what? What did he say?
A budget based on a clear fiscal outlook shaped by a higher degree of confidence in the prospective efficiencies and cost savings across government.
Why aren't we getting a
greater
summer
clarity on the economic impacts of the trade war?
That's how our
And
government's
commitments
supposed to
on
work.
new defense investments necessary to secure
I don't know what he said.
Right, because Parliament is
and to
not in
meet our
session.
responsibilities to our allies as will be agreed.
Something about complaining that Parliament not being in session. This guy is basically just mad that Canada's political system is operating the way Canada's political system is supposed to operate. Everything is happening exactly in a timely manner at exactly when it's supposed to, at the exact time that it always has. And this dude is just bitching about it. Like, it's not like if King Charles wasn't coming, it didn't slow anything down. You know what I mean? The speech would have just been delivered by the Governor General at the same time as it would be happening if King Charles was coming. No, he's not pausing the video to talk. I don't know. Amateur mistake.
At the upcoming NATO summit towards the end of June. This budget will be guided by a new fiscal discipline, spending less on government operations so that Canadians can invest more to build a stronger economy. Government must become more productive by deploying AI at scale, by focusing on results over spending, and by using scarce tax dollars to catalyze multiples of private investment.
I'm sure there are ways that AI can work and function. It's good at building data sets, so using it for data sets makes sense to me, as long as they're not doing any creative work in it, which I do not expect the government to be doing, you know.
As our workers are continuing to face unjustified tariffs imposed by the United States, my government is fighting to get the best deal for Canada. We will take all the time necessary, but not more, to do so. And in parallel, we are strengthening our relationships with reliable trading partners and allies. Canada has what the world needs and the values the world respects. We will always be guided by our conviction that our economy is only strong when it serves everyone. That means bringing down costs for Canadians and helping them to get ahead. We will put more money in Canadians' pockets with a middle-class tax cut that will take effect by Canada Day, saving two-income families up to $840 a year. We will unleash the power of public-private cooperation, catalyze the housing industry, and create hundreds of thousands of new careers in the skilled trades by building homes faster, at lower cost, and with smaller...
So I took a look at the new income tax that they're setting up that he's talking about in June. Apparently going to only include people who earn under $43,000 a year, which don't get me
Correct. That is the middle class.
wrong. That is a portion of the country, but a large portion of the country is over $43,000. That was a lot of money back when I was younger. Back in 2016, 2017, that was like middle class-ish. Not
Right! The middle class! It's a middle class tax cut! And you're complaining that the middle class tax cut is not targeting the middle class. That's 10 years ago. 10 years ago. 10 years of inflation, plus COVID, plus all of the fucking housing bubble. Like, brother, it's been a decade. Guys, Carney's middle class tax cut is affecting what I consider the middle class. His excuse is a lot of people make more than $43,000. Yeah, that's it. That's his fucking. Is that an argument? Like, what do you mean?
Just under middle classy-ish, and that's around the income that he's talking about. That's going to be reduced. Anything over, I think, $50,000 will still stay the same. So for most people, this won't help.
It's not supposed to help everyone. It's supposed to help. Oh my god. Oh my god. Unbelievable. Guys. What's the average, out of curiosity? What is the average income Canada? What's the average income for 2025? Let's find out. Ta-da! There's your average income. Do I have a date on this? Is there a date on this? This is 2024. Last updated September 20th, 2024. All right? So guess what? 58, 63, 57, 50, 59, 62, 55, 47. This is average. But if you hover it, you can get the median. You want to know what the median is? It's very interesting. 37, 39, 40, 38, 43, 41, 39, 42, 42 again, 42 again. Wow, it's almost like an income tax cut to under 50,000 is going to affect the median income of the entire fucking country. Holy shit. You'll also notice that these numbers that are showing the 50s and 62s, these are talking about those individual cities, not the entire province. Uh-oh! Oh no! Damn! What a fucking shame. It's almost like the majority of Canadians make less than that, and it's going to help the majority of Canadians, the people who need the help. Oops! Here you go. This is bigger. There's more to this if you want to go check it out. Here's the link. I'll make sure to add the links in the description for you to check out later. Yahoo! Dude! Did you even look it up? Do you even fucking know? And this is as of 2024. This doesn't even include 2025 yet, obviously, because it's fucking May. You're literally complaining about a tax cut. The conservative, guys, the conservative is complaining about a fucking tax cut because it doesn't help the rich people. It doesn't help, it helps the median of everyone across the country instead of disproportionately favoring the upper class. Yeah. Typical fucking goddamn conservative doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And this is the reason why I'm talking about this isn't to pick on this guy in particular. This is the average fucking talking points of the conservatives in Canada. This is like your fucking MAGA conservatives. This is your fucking people. And these are the fucking things that they say. Yeah, no, if he wants to come on and talk about this shit, I'm more than happy to have him on. But holy fuck.
It's unfortunate, but...
Environmental footprint and construction and greater efficiency once families move in. We can more than meet our challenges with energy and ambition. That is how Canadians have built the best country in the world, and that is how we will build it even better.
Kind of like Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Build bold, build now. Merci. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We're now going to begin with the question here. Sorry, first question, Captain. CTV News, thank you for taking our questions. The American ambassador told CTV's Power Play today that pulling out of the F-35 deal would threaten NORAD. Do you agree, and do you have an update on the F-35 plans?
The second part of your question, the review of the F-35 contract is ongoing. There's many factors that come into that. Interoperability, so that would relate to the NORAD element there. Value for money, broader Canadian industrial impacts, all of those are factors that are under consideration. So I didn't see the ambassador's specific comments, but those are factors that are part of an ongoing review of the contract.
The ambassador also said that there haven't been formal talks on the Golden Dome. Should Canada take part in that project, and how much would you be willing to spend on that?
There hasn't been formal talks on the Golden Dome.
Okay, well, I'm not going to put a price tag on the second part of your question. I think I'll say the following about the situation with air defense or ballistic missile defense, intercontinental ballistic missile defense, broader defense against, including potential missiles that in the not too distant future could come from space. I mean, these are some of the threats that our nation faces. We take those threats seriously. We take our responsibilities as a government seriously, as I just said. It's one of the reasons why we made the commitment back in March for the over-the-horizon radar, the first phase of the over-horizon radar system. That was an independent decision that we took. We are conscious that we have an ability, if we so choose, to complete the Golden Dome with investments and partnership. And it's something that we are looking at and something that has been discussed at a high level, but I'm not sure one negotiates on this. These are military decisions that have been taken in that context. And we will evaluate it accordingly. Thank you.
Next question.
Brian McKenzie. I know this is probably a topic you can't really speak much about. It seems like Canada just kind of latched on to this idea that Donald Trump had, which is an extremely good idea.
Well, what makes you think that the question literally acknowledged that Canada has not officially talked about the dome? You literally just sucked that out of Trump's asshole and you're just repeating it. Where did Canada latch onto the fucking Golden Dome? Tell Elmo! What do you mean? It's okay, it's an idea that Donald Trump had. No, it isn't. The Golden Dome was renamed by Donald Trump to the Golden Dome. It was originally the Iron Dome. This is not Trump's idea at all. I don't know if you know this, but Trump didn't invent missile defense. Oh my god. Absolutely unfucking believable. Guys, the Golden Dome is a fucking extremely good idea, which is why we just read a bunch of shit about how it's actually a terrible idea. We didn't even talk about space junk and how putting 30,000 fucking satellites in orbit would be problematic for like environmental and astronomy and like for a bunch of fucking reasons why space junk would be an issue. Let alone the degrading orbits. So, like, if you want to hear more about the Golden Dome, we're probably going to be talking about it on the tavern. So if you want to hear somebody who is a mathematician and who actually, like, you know, is an astronomer and their opinions about it, you know, Canada is actually already taking steps away from the Golden Dome. Correct. So we didn't latch onto it at all. Like, where are you getting your information from? Extremely good idea.
Yeah, because let's be honest here, probably half of the missiles that countries have, the public doesn't even know about. So having something like the Golden Dome is actually an extremely good idea. And it's a little bit surprising because I assumed the United States...
How are you associating that lots of missiles exist, therefore Golden Dome is good idea? Or are you just assuming that this Golden Dome idea is functional? Because you didn't actually look up what it was or what it means and you don't know anything about it because you're a political channel that doesn't know anything about fucking military capability.
Half of the missiles that countries have, the public doesn't even know about. So having something like the Golden Dome is actually an extremely good idea. And it's a little bit surprising because I assumed the United States had something like this years and years ago. Maybe not something that can knock something out of space, but once something gets near to the US, they could blow it out of the sky, kind of like Israel does. So it was
They do! Why didn't you... This is a video. This is an edited video. You can see there being chunks. Did you even think to look? He blasts Carney for latching on and then says that it's a good idea? Yeah, because they're liberal, therefore bad.
surprising that they came out and said, yeah, we don't have something like this. So better late than never, I guess.
They did not, in fact, come out and say, we don't have something like this. That did not happen. He just feels a certain way. It's just vibes, bro. It's just vibes.
During the election, you heard Republicans saying that the old relationship that Canada has with the U.S. is over. You said that Donald Trump is trying to break us so he can own us. But now, just a couple weeks after the election, there's conversations, at least, about further integrating the Canadian military with the U.S. about the Golden Dome. What do you say to Canadians who voted for you based on your elbows and mentality with the Americans?
Well, first, one of the reasons why we're having more constructive discussions with the Americans is because we are demonstrating our ability that we have choices. We have choices economically. We have choices with respect to our defense.
It would be incredibly fucking stupid to not talk to America. They are literally our neighbors. We are not so stupid that we're going to let anger blind us from being open to conversation. It's not just a one and done, cut everything off. Our relationship with them is over. It does not mean that we can't negotiate from a different perspective. That would be incredibly foolish.
Several examples to back that up. Maybe I'll step away from the economics. Mr. Gray, you probably heard enough of me on that, so I will talk about defense for a moment. With respect to the F-35, it was raised a moment ago. We have alternatives for the F-35 for the back end of that. European alternatives that we could pursue. We have to weigh them in the best interests of Canada. That's how we will evaluate.
I think sticking with the F-35s is the best way to go. You're not going to get any better.
He thinks it's hard for it to hear, but he says, "I think that sticking with the F-35 is the best, and you're not going to find a better plane."
Interests of Canada. That's how we will evaluate.
I think sticking with the F-35s is the best way to go.
Defense,
you're not going to get any better planes than that, and Canada needs better
we
planes.
have partnerships that we can strike, and one of the things...
And that Canada needs better planes. We can build our own. Our engineers and aerospace is, like, top tier. And also, tell that to the fucking Gripen. There are more options, and there's no guarantee that the problem with America right now is that they are unreliable, so there's no guarantee that not only are we actually going to get the F-35 as was initially negotiated in the time price at the rate at the time negotiated, nor at the price that it was negotiated. There's no guarantees with America. And there's no guarantees with America that they're not going to put a kill switch on it. And there is, in fact, Trump has gone out of his way to say that we're not going to sell our best stuff. So what do you mean? That contract is nearly null and void. So even if you were to get it, you're not even guaranteed to get what you actually were paying for when it comes to America.
As you will have heard, but I'll repeat, that we have been discussing with our European partners is becoming a full partner of Rearm Europe, Safe Europe, different acronyms for a major relationship that we can have that gives us diversification, new partners, new options, better value for money, potentially more domestic Canadian economic benefits. So all of that exists in parallel to potential opportunities with the U.S. And the way I would characterize the change in the relationship, and I stood in this room and made those comments the first time, and I'm very clear, and I absolutely repeat them today, which is we had for almost half a century, we as Canada, a relationship with the Americans which were a steady process of deepening integration. Deepening integration in economics, we went from free trade deal through to WSMA, deepening integration in military aspects. And that process of deepening integration is over. We are in a position now where we cooperate when necessary, but not necessarily cooperate. So we have other options for that cooperation. We are pursuing those other options. You will see a very different...
Right. It's stupid to not negotiate and come up with a good deal for yourself. And changing the focus from integration to just, we're just gonna treat you like any other fucking person. Yeah.
Set of partnerships, security and economic going forward. But to be absolutely clear, when it is in Canada's interest, first best interest, to cooperate with the Americans, to strike deals with the Americans, relationships, and particularly in examples like...
Okay, I'm just going to interject here because by the time he's done talking, I'm going to forget what I was going to say. But what I hope the government doesn't do is they go along and just choose other countries to buy from out of an ideological point of view. So like we were talking about these planes, they choose, planes from another European country that aren't as good and not the ones from the United States just because it's...
Give me your analysis of the Gripen then compared to the F-35. Tell me why the Gripen is not as good as the F-35. And keep in mind that you have to take into account the inconsistency of America and the price tag and development. Also, the Gripen isn't the only option. It's just an option that's been discussed. He can pause the video. Yeah, he could just pause the video.
the United States and Donald Trump bad, right?
It's not, well, yes, Donald Trump is bad, but that's, you're not listening to what Carney just said? We will work with the United States when it benefits us, not just because they're American. And you're trying to say that that's a bad thing and that he's not working with America because Donald Trump bad, when that's literally the opposite of what he just fucking said. The thing is that there are things in the F-35 that make it good, and there are things in the Gripen that make it good. So do a proper comparison then. Yeah, with the Gripen we can build it here, which is a huge benefit to us. And the capabilities of the plane are not the only thing that need to be considered. The benefits it brings to Canada overall is what you need to compare. The potential for a kill switch is already even worse, yeah. There's no kill switch. Every country that bought them would have reverse engineered every single component. That's not the problem, though. The problem is that there is potentially one that will or can exist in the future.
That's what I hope doesn't happen. Now, if there's something better somewhere else, yeah, then I don't mind shopping around. That's actually a good idea. Though I don't trust the government to actually buy the best product. I think what they're going to do is buy it from whoever the government likes more. It's going to be a popularity contest of some sorts.
What the fuck do you think trade negotiations are? What do you think alliances are? I'm sorry, do you want us to like the people that keep fucking economically punching us in the head? We're just supposed to pretend that that's not fucking happening? Unbelievable.
Ballistic missile defense. That may be the best option, and if so, we will pursue that.
Further integration piece on Sunday in Rome. It's proven to diversify our defense partnerships when there are questions of sovereignty at issue. Why would we even want to have conversations about further integration militarily when you said just 4 days ago that the Americans have questions of our sovereignty?
Well, I'm trying to recall the comments to which you're referring to.
Last question to Eric at the
Say the left.
when you were talking about the.
Forgive me. You can furnish me with the transcript, but there is, as we know, the president has expressed on multiple occasions a wish for, I'm not going to repeat the phrase, I never repeat the phrase, but a wish for something to happen. That is never going to happen. That is understood, increasingly understood. The wish still exists, but the reality is different. First point. Second point, there are cases where it is in our interest to be integrated with the U.S. market. The automobile sector. My entire life, our automobile sector has been integrated with the U.S. The Auto Pact was struck the year I was born. There are elements of our security relationship where it can make sense. But not all elements of our economic relationships or our security relationships does it make sense, and we are actively and aggressively pursuing alternatives. The question was about the positive aspect of President Trump's transformation, and my example was, and I was starting from his first presidency, about clarity about geopolitical and economic competition from China. And I think we have seen that that intensified through the Biden administration, the reaction to that. So he was right about that. There's been a reaction to that. That has changed aspects of the game, and there are other aspects like that.
Hi, Prime Minister Marina von Stackelberg with CBC News.
Hey, it's that thing that he was just complaining about that he's not going to acknowledge. That thing that said, hey, bro, don't just make decisions because you don't like Donald Trump. That is Carney explaining how he's not just making decisions because he doesn't like Donald Trump, quote unquote. In fact, he's never even said he doesn't like Donald Trump because he's too diplomatic for that. He's not just gonna come out and say that. He's a fucking world leader. They're not allowed to just say those things. Ash Scott said, don't buy either. Wait until 2028, then decide. Absolutely fucking not. Those decisions are already on the block. I will be surprised if the F-35 deal goes through with any, like, real capacity that it was initially signed under. The GCAP. And this is also, by 2028, Canada will have probably submitted its own plane designs.
Did you speak to U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance this weekend about putting that statement out with the UK and France against Israel expanding its military operations in Gaza? And was the U.S. supportive of you releasing this statement?
I advised the Vice President that we probably were going to say something. I didn't ask, it was a one-way conversation. I advised the Vice President of that.
Yeah, he did not ask permission from J.D. Vance about the comments that we made, which is interesting, which is, like, it seems obvious, but the thing is like, most comments about, like, world UN related stuff is usually led by America, or historically was led by America, but the fact that they're all doing it without them and without even bothering to talk to them about it says a lot to the shift.
I informed him it wasn't anything more than that. I just said it wasn't a conversation. So,
if Israel continues to deny aid and expand military operations in Gaza, part of what your statement was about, what concrete action will Canada take, and what kind of sanctions will it include?
well, the purpose of the statement, the intention of the clear language is not just of ourselves, but of France, of the United Kingdom, many other countries, is that Israel ensures that adequate humanitarian aid gets to the population there, many of whom are on the brink of starvation.
I had to look at what this video was called again just to make sure, but this was called Mark Carney Outlines Government's Priorities, and we're not really talking about Canadians here, we're talking about things across the ocean.
There are Palestinian Canadians, you dumb motherfucker! Are you fucking serious? Also, that was prompted by a question from the media. Do you really think Canada sanctioning Israel has nothing to do with... Do you know what a sanction is? Mr. Political Show or Mrs. Political Show or neither or whatever your pronouns happen to be? Unfucking believable. And yeah, Jason makes a really good point. Do you want to buy the plane from your biggest threat and wonder where you will get spare parts when tensions increase? Absolutely. That's a very, very good point. 100%. Are you actually saying that Canada's stance on Gaza and Israel doesn't affect fucking Canada? My brother in Christ, absolutely unacceptable.
That Canadians aren't involved in. I mean, the Golden Dome, yes.
Canadians are involved! Canadians are 100% involved. Canada has been involved in every fucking goddamn fascist dictatorship fight from the underdog throughout history. Ukraine, Poland, fucking good God. There's no reason historically or from Canadians' attitudes that Canada should be on Israel's side. The only reason that people didn't engage, and like major G7 and UN countries didn't engage, was because America was vetoing it and standing in everybody's fucking way. Holy shit! Bro doesn't understand how geopolitics are. Bro doesn't understand that there are Palestinian fucking Canadians, and that there are people in Canada who have family in Israel and in Palestine, and that there are people from Israel in Canada. Like, what are you talking about? Read a book!
Talking about things across the ocean that Canadians aren't involved in. I mean, the Golden Dome, yes, but there should have been like one question and that's it. Like that first question, there's no questions on housing, no questions on what actually will change Canadians' lives. No question.
Sanctioning Israel and sending humanitarian aid to Palestine definitively changes Canadian lives if, for example, fucking Canadians get killed over there. And suddenly we're at war with Israel. I'm back to thank you for proving that conservatives have no ethics and conservatives have no empathy and conservatives are definitively against the principles that Canada was founded on and the things that we have continued to do throughout history around the world.
Questions about the tax deduction coming in and any restriction.
What makes you think that there aren't Canadians in Israel right now? Because there are. And there are Canadians in Palestine right now, you dense fuck. I wasn't gonna be mean to this guy, but the stuff he's saying is like fucking... These are the arguments that the average fucking goddamn conservative says out loud and then puts out in the world without knowing anything about fucking anything. And it's fucking embarrassing. And it deserves to be shut down at every level.
No questions about the tax deduction coming in and any restrictions on that, because let me tell you, if it's a tax deduction, there's...
So you're saying that Carney did in fact talk about Canadians and talk about the things that are going to affect Canada, and the thing you're complaining about then is the media? You're questioning, your concern is what the media is asking and pretending the things that they're asking don't affect Canadians, and they very much do?
Going to be restrictions on that. Kind of like an insurance claim. But
yeah, he talked about economic growth and housing like it was political jargon. You're right, absolutely.
Nothing, just nothing from all these media companies. Oh, this is how I created an AI for
What question would you fucking ask then?
Just nothing from all these media companies. Oh, this is how I created an AI for politics.
You might have seen,
You don't understand or get it. That's why you created an AI to understand politics, because you don't, so you needed a computer to understand it for you and do the thinking for you and tell you what to say. Telling that you think that that's reasonable or makes any sense or is okay.
But a few of your MPs say it's nothing against you, but they want to have the power to trigger a leadership review if things go south, maybe in a couple of years. Are you comfortable with this idea?
Is that a prediction, Catherine? I mean, what level of confidence?
Are you comfortable with that idea so early in your mandate?
Well, I say the following, which is that, you know, the Reform Act, all parties in Parliament, all recognized parties in Parliament are...
Also, he didn't complain until it was about Israel. He said questions about the Golden Dome were fine and trade with the US were fine, which was the questions that came beforehand. So there's only been one question that he claims weren't about Canadians, and it was about Israel and Palestine. One question that lasted 30 seconds, and this guy throws a fucking hissy fit.
Are bound by the Reform Act. It's the law of the land, and therefore there are these 4 votes consistent with the Reform Act.
Kind of comes off as a little bit racist.
Will take place. They'll take place at the first caucus meeting, which is Sunday. So it's not. It's just.
That idea.
Well, I observe that this will happen. There'll be these votes.
Yeah. See, the Liberals don't have anything in their constitution that can actually do this, and we saw this from Trudeau, how a lot of the MPs wanted Trudeau out, but they couldn't kick him out. They can't vote him out. So yeah, the MPs might want this, but they can't do anything about it. They're just gonna have to deal.
It's a conservative issue as well. It's not for one party or another. It was something that the Conservatives brought forward and was shot down by the Liberals, and then fucking the Liberals have their own constitution. No, yeah, they don't. He's using the wrong words here. He means like there's nothing in their like way of operation, but you can't just, that's not, he doesn't understand how the government works. I don't know what to tell you. This political channel doesn't understand how the Canadian government works. That's it. That's all. It's that simple. I thought everything was working before a year ago. Yeah, apparently everything was working perfectly fine before a year ago until this. How long has Israel and Palestine been going on again, by the way? Side note. What he's talking about is bringing up a rule that allows a party to unseat the sitting leader. That's what he's talking about.
With Mark Carney until he's voted out, pretty much. So I don't know.
If I understand correctly, the Conservatives don't have that either. Nobody does. It would be a new thing that is brought in. That's why fucking Poilievre is still holding on to his fucking position as Conservative leader. Yeah, platform would be a better word.
And just really quickly, I wanted to get your reaction on the IDF who fired some shots at some Canadian diplomats. Does that change your stance on Israel? Should we impose sanctions?
Well, the Israeli ambassador has been summoned to Global Affairs to see the minister and explain.
Wow, that big sigh. Oh, you're asking about the genocide going on. Ew. And talking about how it directly affects Canadians being shot at. That's funny. I thought you said that it didn't have anything to do with Canadians. Did the thing that happened immediately after you said that in questioning completely undermine that thing you just said? Uh-oh.
Expect a full investigation, and we expect a immediate explanation of what happened. It's totally unacceptable. It's some of many things that are totally unacceptable that's going on in the region.
Don't get me wrong, what happened there was terrible, and I'm not sounding exasperated because I don't care what that shots were taking. That should not...
Really? Because that's what it sounds exactly like. It sounds like you're frustrated and don't like hearing about the genocide that's going on.
Happen. I'm tired about these people asking questions that have nothing to do with Canadians. Like
Canadians getting shot at definitively has things to do with Canadians. What? This dude, he doesn't care about Canadian lives. Yes! 100%! Oh my god. Yeah, Andrew Scheer had to do that, yes. Wow! Guys, Canadians don't care about Canadian lives. You're fucking, dude, this is so evil. Unbelievable. Canadians get shot at, bro. This has nothing to do with Canadians. Fucking what?
Everyday Canadians that go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, come back at 5 o'clock at night, and just want to hang out with their families, maybe buy a coffee.
No, what you're trying to say is some Canadians, but not every Canadian. You want only things to be talked about that affect every Canadian. And then you sit there and bitch and moan about the tax cut that is affecting the median of the entire fucking country for every fucking province. So things that do affect that's just your bitching. You're bitching that if anything's gonna happen, it has to affect everybody equally, which is literally nothing. That is nothing.
Let's go chicken, bring it home and have supper. Those kind of Canadians. The blue or white collar that...
Brother in Christ, there is nothing stopping a blue or white collar Canadian from having Palestinian or Israeli family, or family that travels to either of those places, or has extended family, or is an immigrant. God fucking damn it. Well, I'm not the Canadian who got shot at, so I don't give a shit. Take your selfish, fucking evil ass horse shit and shove it up your ass. So you're not gonna, so nobody should care if you get shot at? Nine to 5 is such a boomer mindset. Yeah, almost everyone works longer. Yeah, there's also that.
Hey, look forward to the one day a week that they can go out to eat. I heard no questions that pertain to those people. It's all about, oh, what's happening overseas? Oh, what's happening with this golden...
The economy does. Not getting hit by missiles is something that affects everyday Canadians and Americans. Your blue-collared workers are the ones that don't want to be fucking bombed. Military fucking interactions matter if we're suddenly at war with fucking Israel. Genocide matters to people. You're just fucking disgustingly privileged. That's all this is.
Dome thing, oh.
Eating out one day in a week is luxury, yeah.
Anyways. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Anyway, I'm just racist and I'm trying to cover it up because I said a minute ago that the golden thing was fine, but because I needed to complain about Israel again, I needed to flip my stance on the Golden Dome so I didn't just seem racist. That's why he had to jump and get ahead of it, because he's probably just racist. He doesn't care about Canadian lives. He definitely doesn't care if you have Palestinian or Israeli family, or if you're an immigrant from either of those places as a refugee or anything like that. He doesn't care if you're a medical worker, or you're somebody who helps deliver that aid, or you're part of the Canadian military, or if you're a Canadian diplomat, or someone in your family or somebody you know is working one of these jobs. He was complaining about helping middle and lower class workers getting a tax break, and now he's virtue signaling about the same workers. Very good point, Jessica. You're a fucking hypocrite, dude.
Rest, this guy has to say.
C'est la responsabilité de l'ambassadeur d'Israël de faire une explication à nous, et c'est la responsabilité du gouvernement d'Israël de faire une explication.
Oh, apparently the rest is just all in French, so...
Yeah, he's gonna bitch about the French.
If you know French, let me know what he said below. I think it's just reiterating what he said after. But that's all I got for you today. Let me know how you feel about pretty much, I guess, the military and overseas thing that Mark Carney is talking about. And leave a comment below saying whether or not you like sort of this new setup I got going here. Other than that, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And with...
Huh? What? That was weird. Again, this is an edited video. I just want to point that out. He could have cut that out, and he didn't. for some reason. So that's your average fucking conservative, and those are going to be their talking points, and they're grasping at straws, they're hypocrites, and they hate Canadians. So real quick, some good news, or some news. Improving Arctic food security through DNA science and respectful collaboration with Indigenous people. Over the next over 3/4 of adults in the Inuit face food insecurity at a rate more than 6 times the Canadian national average. The statistic reflects not only limited access to market food, but also the disruptions to Arctic ecosystems impacting traditional food availability. Climate change is also impacting it. So they're looking at discussing using DNA for Arctic wildlife and Indigenous food security through workshops. So can DNA information help mitigate such threats to Arctic wildlife? If so, how? And which animals do you prioritize? So it looks like there's some workshops going on to try to improve access for food. We've also got Canadian Dental Plan is now open for all age groups. So if you are in Canada, go and check that out. Go see if you can go and get that for you. Congratulations on improving our medical care structure. We also have this, which is Rachel Gilmore that I wanted to shout out, but I'm going to skip this one for now because we don't have enough time. Ontario NDP Liberals successfully stall Bill 5 after filibuster until midnight on Thursday. Monday is the earliest they can proceed. Bill 5 was successfully stalled in committee after Ontario NDP and Liberal MPPs filibuster from around 4 p.m. on Wednesday until midnight on Thursday. Filibuster has blocked the controversial bill from going into its third and final reading, as the committee process will now continue into next week. Ontario NDP said in the statement on X just after midnight on Thursday, quote, use every committee tool to delay the process. Look at that. It's our left actually using the tools for our government to not let the fucking right-wing extremists take advantage of using shit. Fantastic. Bill 5 would create a so-called special economic zones where the government can exempt companies or projects from complying with provincial laws or regulations. It would also replace the province's Endangered Species Act, replacing it with a new law that critics say waters down protections. The bill has been criticized by First Nations, environmentalists, and legal advocates who have said that the proposed law would gut environmental protections for wildlife and infringe on treaty rights. Surprise, surprise. This is a Doug Ford bill, because of course it is. Ontario is to amend the controversial bill and add duty to consult provisions amid First Nations uproar. Premier Doug Ford's government is preparing to partially amend a contentious mining bill, but it intends to proceed with legislation despite opposition from First Nations leaders. Remember this, Ontario. Remember this piece of fucking shit and his conservative gutting of all of our fucking shit. Who says it infringes on their treaty rights and should be scrapped entirely. The government will introduce an amendment to Bill 5 at committee on Wednesday that will add in what is known as a duty to consult provisions. Spokesperson Hannah Jensen said in an email, quote, regulations under this act shall be made in a manner consistent with the recognition and affirmation of existing Aboriginal treaties across Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982, including the duty to consult. So I would like to point out that this was the amendment. This is May 28th, and this one is May 29th. So even with that provision added, it was not good enough, and it has been pushed back and for now successfully rebutted. So we'll see what that looks like. Also, Sudbury. Indigenous community on Manitoulin Island gets a data center to help preserve its cultural heritage. This is huge, and congratulations to them. As far as I know, one of the main issues that you have with Indigenous peoples is they're losing their culture, particularly historically. So this is a data center that is just a big old warehouse full of fucking information, and I am absolutely here for that. Next off, we have Broken Head. Ojibwe Nation, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, welcomes the first buffalo calf in decades. 11 calves have been born since the herd was reintroduced in December. Isn't it cute? Isn't it cute? Brand new generation of buffalo born for the first time in more than 2 decades. Quote, it's a big part of our culture as people. It brings the community together, and a lot of people have come out and drive out here, like to look at them and talk about them. The reserve lands 75 kilometers north of Winnipeg along Broken Head River fall within the traditional buffalo territory. The new herd was brought to Broken Head in late December from First Nations in Saskatchewan. Before that, their team worked tirelessly to prepare the old buffalo pasture. It had a herd in the 1990s and was disbanded in the 2000s. So congratulations, buffalo ranchers. That's fucking awesome. This guy's name is Jeremy. So congratulations on that. Quote, as soon as they drop from their mother, they can actually stand up and they can run right from birth, so they are pretty strong. The first thing they do, of course, is get their milk and just follow their mothers around. So there's a bunch of calves. Buffalo coming back. Wild buffalo is absolutely fucking huge. Canada has put a fuckload of work into its environmental shit and pointing out fucking Doug Ford and fucking goddamn Stephen Harper for fucking undermining all that work for like a decade. Fucking, I don't think so. This is what it's supposed to fucking look like. This is what we're fucking about. I am absolutely here for that. Quote, like seeing an old friend, beloved totem pole restored and relocated in St. Catharines, Ontario. The totem pole was taken down in 2019 for restoration, and it is back up and out there, baby. So if you want to check it out, hit up St. Catharines, Ontario. Hell yeah, it was 6 years of restoration. Commissioned in 1966 for Canada's 100th birthday, the centennial totem pole was carved by the late Doug Cranmer by an Indigenous artist whose name I cannot pronounce. I apologize. Very fucking cool. Nice. So if you're in that area, go check it out. And lastly, University of Regina unveils province's first microgrid lab for clean energy resource. The lab generates power independent from the main grid. University of Regina has opened the doors to a new lab that aims to help reshape how energy is produced across Saskatchewan. The Microgrid Living Lab, a first-of-its-kind facility in the province, was launched as a hub for clean energy research, development, and education in Saskatchewan. Quote, about 6% of generated power is lost in translation, so in microgrids, we don't have that. The associate professor in electronic systems engineering and the lab's director. The lab functions off of the main power grid, is capable of generating, sorting, and distributing its own electricity, according to the university. Quote, everything is located in one area: generation, storage, control, and loads. So, less power dissipation, So less power dissipation, less power burnout in transmission, and this can be beneficial to locations where you have difficulty supplying power, and you can utilize renewable generations as well as these locations. This is huge for the Arctic. This is huge. Huge, 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 huge. Big for military, big for Arctic, big for schools. Absolutely fucking fantastic. 10 out of 10. I'm here for it. I love this kind of shit. We're going to talk more about some of these stuff over on Debate Hub, where we do talk about politics and science and education with more professional-like people. So go and follow us over there. I'm going to wrap up here. I was here long today. I was told to check educational. Is this going to upset me? Oh, no, I'm not doing, no, I'm not doing this. You can't make me. You can't make me. We'll talk about that another day. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm gonna get on out of here. Fucking conservatives are goddamn stupid. Jesus fucking Christ. I hope you all enjoyed. I know it was a bit long today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna get on out of here. There was a lot to talk about. I'm gonna be talking about, tomorrow I will be live over on Dapper's Top Pass Off channel as the captain of the Kongzi, as well as Debate Pub is happening on Saturday, so join us over on Debate Hub Official for that, and I will be back on Monday. Have a good day, everybody. I will see you on Monday. We're going to be talking more about Charlie Kirk. Bye-bye. Ugh. Gross. Awful. Terrible.
I disagree infinitely about the way that was dumb, and I hate it. And I hate it